All right, welcome to the party, pals. GRC Mafia. I see Rania and McCoy hopping in chat already. GRC Mafia. So right out the gate, we are here to break down barriers, foster collaboration and community, working towards a more secure future for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and open up the stage as we speak. So if you guys would like, you guys are more than welcome to hop into the backstage, and I can bring you up after this introduction. So, you guys may have noticed that we didn't have a talk lined up for this one. That's where, that's just on me. Time flew by so quickly and so forth. We never actually secured a talking spot for this. So, whenever PBO shows up, we could just let him know that he's presenting tonight or something. Secure future, secure badge. I was waiting for you there too, AB. Let me see. Yeah, and that's hilarious, AB. I might have to rename the badges to what we need to do is go through and actually set it up so that way it keeps track of the weeks. Here, I'm going to go through. All right. So definitely if you do want to come up, I did drop the link for that. You guys can go ahead and turn on your microphone and so forth. You do not have to use your video if you don't want to. One of the best places to share links such as resources and your LinkedIn, your Facebook, or other social media that you'd like to share is joining our Discord server. If you go over to the live chat channel, then you can go through and share it there. That's really going to be like the best place to do it. I did drop the link to it just a moment ago, and that's going to be the best place. Also throughout, one of the other huge benefits with the live chat on Discord is then it's also there as a permanent record. So anything you guys put down, you guys can always go back to our live chat on Discord, and that's like our permanent archive for our live streams. If you do happen to say something that you don't want to be public, then just reach out to me on Discord or LinkedIn. You can also contact me at contact@studygrc.org, and we can see how we can go ahead and get that redacted, get that modified, and take whatever steps we need to do so. I'm talking to you, PBO. Space tacos. Awesome. There are a couple topics from earlier that I was going to mention tonight too that I think are really awesome topics. We also have our website and then also B-Dubs. You guys may be familiar with B-Dubs here. B-Dubs has why can I not type? Has a weekly article every single Monday related to GRC and cybersecurity. Check that out, but also the ongoing the ongoing CISSP study group as well. Definitely worth checking that out as well. And on our website, you can go ahead and check out the rest of the different platforms we stream to, the calendar, which has the most up-to-date information, and our resources page, which I hope to modify and get that running here in just a moment. Go ahead and grab your badge there, AB. All right. Welcome to the Party Pal Space Tacos.
Well, hello.
How are you doing?
How are you?
I'm awesome. Let's go, GRC Mafia.
Yay!
Yeah, Josh. So there was that GRC and cloud presentation earlier that I had made a comment about how, it's a losing battle. And then Josh had some really good conversation and questions related to that I thought were interesting. So my perspective after reading that one book that I was mentioning in the Discord server is that information security as the defender side is still a losing battle because it's outmanned, outgunned, so many different reasons and so forth, and it just makes it a lot more difficult. So Yeah. Which is why fostering, breaking down barriers, taking down silos and so forth is so vital. Congratulations, AB.
Oops.
What are do you have any thoughts on that, Space Tacos?
Thoughts?
Yeah, do you feel so? Like, one of my outlooks on it is, like, I had read a statistic before that, like, for blue team, for an example, there's only like one blue teamer for like 30 attackers.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems overwhelming.
Oh, you want me to have thoughts? Oh.
You don't have to. You're perfectly fine. Or if there's another topic or otherwise, what have you been doing?
Mostly hiding.
That's understandable.
Yeah. Oh, there. Okay.
Oh, here's our presenter for today.
PBO.
Yeah, PBO.
Sure.
We'll all start saluting as he comes up.
Great talk today, by the way, on the cloud.
Yeah, it was a good talk. I just don't really thoughts about it.
Oh, perfectly fine. Yeah, I mean, I definitely positioned to him beforehand. I'm like I know about cloud. I could definitely talk on GRC, but my cloud experience is much lacking way more. Like, yeah. And he's like, no, you're good. I'm like, just saying, I'm gonna be dragging you right into it. So, but that's also what PBO's been streaming lately, is more about AWS.
Thanks. I got a little different opinion. I think the cloud, I think, is making us a little better. We got a lot of more tools, little shared responsibility. Like I said, I think we got some configuration problems in there, but I think the cloud gives you a lot more tools at your fingertips, I think, at a better cost. There's shared responsibility with the cloud, the data center. So I think they have that. But you mentioned that on your thing is, I think a lot of people think because you're in the cloud, you're good. But so I think once again, you give a lot more services, a lot more security for bang for the buck.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think one of the primary issues is that even though the tools are available, a lot of businesses still don't use them. So,
correct that, but I think I think they're using some tools that they wouldn't use before, like KMS, S3. You just hit a bucket. It's automatic. Well, I take that back. S3 comes encrypted anyway because people were getting their S3 buckets hacked, so they're getting a lot of that default settings a little better for you. And S3, it's automatically encrypted. You have no choice. So I think their default settings are getting better. So
yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It seems like it's so easy for anybody to just go through and deploy something on the cloud, and that's what's really scary about it.
But I think that's the benefit of the internet. Anybody can do it. When I did a website, you had to actually know how to do HTML, CSS. Now you just spin up something on light, say, hell, you good to go. So
hey, we got vibe coding now.
I think that my little light went off. I think I'm having a lighting issue. I don't know what's going on. I'm in the darkness.
I feel like we're about to watch a horror movie going on.
Yeah, I'm struggling.
PBO's lights go off, and the next thing you know, books start flying all over the room.
I got to figure out what's going on with my setup here. I'm struggle streaming as always, but I think that's the benefit of things getting easier to set up, right? It's more easier for you to get hacked, right? So I think that's the ubiquity of the internet. It's easier for you to start a company, set up a website, spin up stuff, spin up a database, but with that ease of use comes, ease of getting hacked. So I think that's the double-edged swords of that, right? So in the past, you have to have skills, so it made it harder for you to be able to set it up, but you would take security a little more seriously. So I think, once again, that's the catch-22 of that.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. I would agree. So yeah, definitely pros and cons. There's definitely more availability, and it's a lot quicker to do in the cloud.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to
just
figure
as
out.
long as people realize that.
I think they're learning. I think more people pushing out. But two, I think, like you were talking about with so many ISO, FedRAMP NIST, I think they're putting those requirements on you, right? When you're doing that level of data classifications, then you have killer auditors like Space Tacos to make sure you know you're doing the right thing. She's coming through and auditing you one of her skills. So you know we got good auditors out there. So like I said,
So
I
what
think
you're
it's,
saying is job security.
Yes.
I think AI gonna take everybody out, but that's a different stream and a different conversation. but too, like we were doing AWS config, it'll go through and you put NIST 800-53, it'll go through your architecture and tell you most of your findings from an implementation standpoint, right? But of course, you still got to go over your favorite one, the policies and procedures to make sure you set up. But that implementation guideline, you can set up AWS config, and it'll go through and give you your findings. Then we did AWS Inspector, which will go through your vulnerabilities. So they give you a lot of services and tools to, you know, hopefully help you get more secure with everything. So
Yeah.
shout out to me. Come to my channel and watch my AWS my AWS videos. Give myself a shout out. Shout out to me.
Yeah, late night with PBO on Tuesday
Shout out to
nights
me.
at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Give myself a shout out. Shout out to me.
The shout
Why
out to
not?
me always cracks me up.
Yeah. Shout out to Space Taco. She giving you that good stig up in there in the treasure trove. I had to drop a couple stig videos in there to christen it. So shout out to the stigs.
Thanks for sharing.
Did you guys see the meme for PBO
I did.
and Sticks?
I did. I liked it. I liked it. I liked it.
I'm gonna have to pull that up on stream here in a moment. Yeah, I think there could be a lot more resources there. Also, trying to find it here. So AB was just asking about the PDF from Evan's talk, the cyber on a shoestring talk for all kinds of different resources on a budget. That's something that he's actually going to be presenting at a conference coming up here soon.
Okay.
I think it's later this month, or it's like the first week or two of the following month. And so he was just refining that out, and then he'll be publishing that PDF in Discord.
And I think AWS and Azure and Google help small companies to spin that up. Like we talked about, you can spin up a VM, EC2, some of that for like pennies on a dollar. Then you got spot instances, which means they have VMs available. So if you use a spot instance, they only charge you 90%. But if a big customer needs it, they're going to take it back ASAP. But you get it at a super discount. So
yeah, I could see PPO over there now. He's like, oh, we could just do a spot instance. You know, we don't need access all the time.
Well, what you do is you commingle them. Like you have, like when you spin up, you might have 5 regular instances or reserve instances that you can get cheap that they can't take, but then you might have another 5 that are spot. So you spin up your spot, but if they take those away, if you have some reserve instances that you can pull out your back pocket, right? So
and that's how PPO gets paid the big bucks, you know.
I wish PBO living on a shoestring.
What are your guys' thoughts on 2025 internship possibilities at this point in the year? Do you think that's still something out there?
I don't know. Is there a time limit? I think of a season, like a sports season, but is there a season for internships? I don't even know.
It is.
Okay.
Usually right for the summertime. For the year, usually when they do internships, they usually do them over the summer. I did see a few in the winter because I used to publish them. I start seeing fewer ones, especially for remote work. But let me roll that back. There's internships out there.
Right.
The hard part about that is, and I've been a part of a lot of them, the big guys have their relatives get those internships. They be lined up. So they're hard to get if you just try to get one, off the shelf by applying, because those are so coveted, especially at your bigger companies. When I was at the state, we had internships, and the big guys kind of had it lined up for their relatives. So
that sucks.
That's part of the game.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen is that especially the larger companies like Cloudflare will post those pretty early on. Like I think I was saying that like back in December, and like that was already filled out
Right.
for Texas, like in January. So
I saw a lot for Deloitte.
Yeah.
They were posting internships, but I can't remember when because my memory sucks.
The Deloitte's just so hard. They be like, you got to go to Ivy and Big Ten. They be having some weird stuff on there.
Man,
So that, especially if you just trying to do it off the certifications, they want you in somebody 4-year university.
is it possible to network your way into a created internship just for you?
Yes, but you're gonna need to know the president. Go ahead and chime in on that, Chris. Yes, if your uncle's in there, you can. If your uncle's in there, you can network your way in there.
Well, and so that was one of the surprising parts for me about internship is I come from like a union background, and so I was like, oh, internship, that's not paid or anything else.
Yeah,
but there's actually a ton of them that are. Almost
I'm used
all of
to the
all
not
of
paid
them.
version. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to.
No, most I see are paid. If you're at a large state, like everybody know I'm in Indianapolis, the state agencies usually have internships that are paid, but those are hard to get. But they have them usually in the summer.
Yeah.
Somebody at Indiana, that's called IoT, didn't like me. Somebody said, "Can I use you as a reference?" I go, "I don't think that's gonna be a good decision." I think I pissed off the guy that was in charge of internships. So I don't think you should use my name. But
yeah, and like Rothnier also says, is it does depend on the company, but I see more paid internships than unpaid. So
I will say that I have seen more paid internships in the tech universe than anything else, because any other interns I've ever seen has been, we're not paying you squat.
Yeah. When I was in college, I had 3 and all of mine were paid.
I had a couple. But I wasn't in tech back then, so.
Oh yeah, mine was all in tech. I was a COBOL programmer, so
hopefully it moves to.
Yeah, it wasn't about that.
I love programming. I might go back to programming. Somebody said go Indiana. I guess that's good. I don't know if they're from Indiana. Shout out to me. Yeah,
right.
I'm from the state capital, Indianapolis, Indiana. I used to work for the state of Indiana as a consultant for a decade. Something I probably should have took. They gave me a job offer, but states usually don't pay well. They pay, but not well. But shout out to them though. You get 10 years, you get a pension. So I'm getting old. I was like, I probably should have went for the pension. I'm getting old.
Tons of internships, although they have over 100 applicants.
Always.
Yeah, and that's another aspect too. Like that was one of my concerns. Is a lot of the internships I've seen before, they were like requesting that you were in your 3rd or 4th year for school and so forth as well. Yeah. I don't know how restrictive that is. Like I would probably still apply to that. Maybe follow up with them. Best way is probably to just get a connection to them. Via a local event or something, maybe, but yeah.
Facts. Yeah, that was.
Is there any kind of an alternative to like an official internship?
Alternative to an internship?
Yeah, I'm thinking because I know everyone in cybersecurity, we always say, go volunteer your skills and go say, hey, Bob's Bakery down the corner, I'm taking this course. I'd like to do scan your network, blah, blah, blah. And I'm wondering if a collection of those, like a literal collection of those, would substitute to a degree some kind of it's practical experience. It's real work experience. It's just you're not paid. You don't have a boss. It's not with a company. It's on your own. See, I used to be a teacher and we never got a budget. So I'm trying to think. Because, like internship, 100 applicants, internship, it's only going to be for my uncle, my nephew, my nieces, my whatever. And they're really hard to get. So I'm trying to think around that box.
Yeah. I help people do it, but they were already working inside the agency. So people were in the agency and they were trying to pivot. So I told my boss we should, let them work with us for 4 hours. We can give them some policies and procedures. We can take them out when we do our internal assessment so they can kind of build a portfolio. So that's kind of what I would think of as when you say alternative. But once again, they were already kind of working in the agency, and they kind of made it well known that they were trying to pivot. So I was trying to help people pivot by giving them some projects. Long story short, PBL don't like doing policies anyway, so give them policy work.
That's fair. Give them that
Yeah,
groundwork.
also like Save DV mentions is that their internship program was based on the semesters and quarters of the college. So, yeah.
Well, I know when I worked as a medical coder or started working as a medical coder, we were encouraged to volunteer. If you could go volunteer your skills for something, for just, can I come volunteer my coding skills for like an hour on a Saturday or 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday and just help?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like they say, get the IT job at the help desk and then go pick at the cyber team and say, hey, I want to join your team, and pick on them.
Yeah, and like people have talked about, and we've talked about it before too, about going and volunteering for nonprofits or other organizations. Yep. Maybe somebody who owns a business.
Yep.
At least you could go do some type of assessment or help them with SOPs or something.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've seen people listed on their resumes before as self-employed.
Just as long as it's something that's not, home labs are awesome and they're encouraged, but just like anything at an actual company somewhere for the experience.
Yeah. What about the startup scene? So I feel like that's a pretty broad question there. I think the startups are probably going with, a quick, win. That's where you get Draca and Fanta and that kind of stuff in there, print it off the printer.
Well, I've got a lot of startup experience. Long story short is the reason I laugh is I get a lot of companies that are starting up. I probably own 3% of 20 companies. They bid on state work and federal work. When they go bid on it, they go, we need to see your policy and procedure, your SSP. So people reach out to me with it used to be a website in a dream when I used to be a programmer, but I guess a bid and an RFP in a dream. So people usually give me parts. But long story short, if you go to Upworks or one of those, most of those are startups, especially in the NIS space. They're trying to bid on some work. So that's how I get in the startup scene. And a lot of times most people can't pay me. So we need some policy. We just needed something to get us started. And the weird thing is I'm in a lot of RP presenting, because when you bid on stuff, you got to do oral presentations. So I do more oral presentations for startups than you would imagine. What does that mean? I go in front of them. And long story short, somebody was doing I won't say what the app was, but an app for state police. So I had to go do the presentation from the security, because now people are asking security questions. So I liked them. So go ahead.
So PB is out there being, the security point of contact for these startups.
Just because I like them. A lot of times
it's
I like them.
It's a great thing that you have your insurance too.
But usually they're pretty good. And the sad thing is most of the states suck at security anyway, so it kind of evens out. So I usually get with their CTO, and unless we got to do some this, I need to see some STIGs or some CIS checks. I need to see some scans, and they're looking at me all funny like, ew, you don't know what that is? Come on, man.
Like, say it again, but in English.
You're the CTO, homie. I think we need to do a vulnerability scan.
So are you saying that, the DOD is not compliant with CMMC?
Oh, I am. DOD is.
What?
DOD is, but I'm talking about the states, not the the DOD.
I know. It's just a really good example.
Oh, yeah. But no, facts, though. But you know how that is. And
there's plenty of stories through like Summit 7 on YouTube, and there's a couple other ones too, talking about the DoD and government contractors, in particular with CMMC. And that was like one of the things early on when they first tried to push CMMC, like back in 2017, was a lot of these different contractors were like, wait, why do we need to do this when you guys aren't even? Like, how does that make any sense?
The IRS was the same way. The IRS would send us stuff. I don't want to say too much since they're fine. They would send us files not encrypted. I'm like, dude, y'all all up in our shorts because how you sending us stuff that's not encrypted, man? Oh,
And now
the
Men in
IRS.
Black tomorrow knocking on the door.
Yeah, but we do some. We get these big findings. We get a write up. You telling us we suck in our kickoff meeting? I'm like, but you sending us stuff that's not even encrypted.
Damn.
So, but do as I say, not as I do. That's what I used to tell my son. So I feel it, man. If I'm
That's
a
what the
big buck-
DoD knocked into your head.
Yeah, so not a DOD's. But their audit is brutal though, man. When they come out, you gotta do an ATO. Now what they're doing, I don't know, but what they do on the projects, it was brutal. I told you we had like 10,000 findings. I first sat it down. I was like, oh my God, we're never gonna get done.
10,000?
True story.
What the hell?
But you gotta remember though, Space Tacos, a lot of times it's really 100, but we got 100 VMs, so you time that 100 times 100, right? So it's like, so once you roll them up, it's like, oh, we probably got about 1,000.
They just wrote y'all a book. I mean, I'm flipping out over my little 5 or 8 findings in this last audit I did.
Yeah, I did something in Jamie's Discord, man. I think he wrote me up. Shout out to my big homie Jamie. Came in there. We were talking about mitigation. I don't think he liked my mitigation strategy.
No, I did, man.
I played. Nah,
okay, I'm sorry if I came off like that. I really am.
I'm joking.
Okay, good.
Long story short, Jamie put an exercise in his Discord. So when nobody responded, I thought his feelings was hurt. So PBO jumped in there and gave his 3 cents from a NIST perspective. So
he did. Oh, okay. I would love if Who Is Like God would come in here and qualify this comment for me a little bit more. And if you can't, definitely fill it out in the chat. But I wholeheartedly disagree with this 1,000%.
Oh,
and not because I'm against AI per se. There's a couple of qualifiers I have for this. And so I'm going to give a little bit of time for Who Is Like God to come on before I start full heading into this, because if they want to come in here and do that, I'd love to have this conversation now.
Well, Jamie, I think he's talking about from an exercise perspective. You talking about real world roll your sleeves up perspective, right?
Well, there's 2 sides of the fence here, because there is actually people out there and YouTube channels out there that are saying, oh, if you want to get GRC experience, you go to ChatGPT and you just talk to that for 20 hours a day and you'll learn everything you need to know. There are literally people out there doing that, just like the spam boot camps that are saying 6 figures in 60 days kind of thing. It's the exact same problem.
Good point.
I have spent an absorbent amount of time. I have a video on how I use AI. Even if you go through and you throw the 106 controls from CSF into AI and have that in the context window, you can prompt it for just questioning on the controls, and it will still be incorrect 20% or more of the time. And that's with it in the context window. I've confirmed this multiple times on ChatGPT and Gemini, which are 2 leading bots.
And also, my 2 cents on my 2 cents as from an auditor point of view is I use ChatGPT to get me started writing my report, and it gets picked to pieces between my director, the assistant auditor general, my auditor general, the other lady that does a review, and then the quality assurance team that does a review. My report, the ChatGPT original thought that I had, I'm like, here's what I'm thinking. Say it nicely for me. Like I sound like an auditor. It spits out something. I put it in there, and my director's like, oh, no, say it like this. Assistant auditor general, oh, no, say it like this. Right. And so, yeah.
And I get that. I remember when my wife was doing her PhD, and her initial, not judge, basically.
Thesis.
Anyway, one of the people on her. So when you're doing your PhD, they have like a panel of advisors. There's a specific word that I cannot remember right now, but I remember their initial one was make sure to do your reporting or your thesis qualitative. So basically numbers, right? So then she did it, and they're like, "This sounds too numbery. We need you to change. It needs to be more qualitative, so wordy, feelings kind of stuff." So then she redid that, and then they were like, there's not enough data in here, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, what do I do?" Like,
yeah.
And I feel like what you were just saying, Space Tacos, like that's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, who do I appease? Like,
well, I help some guys with their PhD, and this happens more than a lot. Is a lot of times 2 professors in your panels can disagree, so they're telling you to do different stuff. I've seen that quite a few times. And for you, Space Taco, I had bots like that. I tell them, here's the data. Y'all write it up how y'all want it.
And that's the process we go through. That's basically the process we go through. I don't care. It's because it's coming from the report is issued in draft format from my assistant general. It's her name on it. It's basically saying I'm the assistant general. Here's the report from my office. Once we get everything, all the details hammered out between the auditee who says, no, we didn't do that, or yes, we'll fix it, or blah, blah, blah. Then my auditor general comes in and says, well, the final report is now from my office. So they're kind of basically writing it. I'm just like starting it for them. So that's when they come in and do it. I'm like, I don't care. Y'all tell me what to write. That's fine.
And also, who is like God also did clarify a little bit more from an exercise perspective. Because I've also gone through and we've tried to do the case studies and things like that through it too. And there's a big difference because if you're taking it from, hey, I don't know what I'm doing and I want to learn more, then that's probably the wrong way to do it. But if you already have the knowledge on how things are done and what could go wrong in mitigations, and so forth, then you could probably figure out where it failed along the way. So that's like what I've seen with the case studies through AI is that it would skip over things or not account for things.
So I'm with you on that, Chris, where my experience, and it's not to bash, I want there to be an easily accessible way for people who are trying to transition and make their lives better to get that true experience without having to pay an arm and a leg to someone selling you snake oil, right? I'm down for that. So it's not that I'm anti-AI against it. What I am anti, though, is there are people who will subsidize AI for their lack of knowledge in a live environment. And it's like,
interviews.
And you from a PCI perspective, because that's where my specialty is, everyone, if you're tuning in tonight for the first time, payment card industry. What I've seen is kind of like what you were saying, Chris, is like I've gone in there when ChatGPT first came out, and even to today, I'll go in there and I start asking it questions based on the requirements, right? What ends up happening is it looks like it's going to start off okay, but like the Voyager 1 and 2 flying through our solar systems, one got off course just a little bit in the beginning, and now it's like way off into the Kelper belt and stuff like that. In ChatGPT, it starts off with some easy enough questions, it lands it, but after that, because it's so that data is aggregated so much, it ends up pulling in, for whatever reasons, previous versions of the DSS, and it starts mangling any DSS and combining, and all of a sudden you're like, that's not the requirement 1.2.3. That was from like back in,
And I think that's like the biggest thing is that like it still hallucinates quite a bit. And even though AI has made so many advances, especially from an educational standpoint, you really have to be very cautious about it. I think after you've learned a skill or otherwise, you could definitely use it for practice. But yeah, I've seen too many people over rely on it, not knowing what they're doing.
And then when you have a stakeholder who wants to validate you as the compliance officer, right, or expert, however way you want to say that, when you have a stakeholder who's like, well, let me just go tap into GPT right here, and it says right here, blah, 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 and you're like, oh, so are you do you want to take over? You know what I mean? That's my heart. That's where my heart is. And I'm like, you just want to take it? Because apparently ChatGPT can do what I can do. And it's like, no, it cannot. Now, like you said, I think there is validation in saying, well, if I want to keep my skills sharpened, it's a good way to be like, oh, can I point out the wrong thing? Or can I, are you accurate or not? No. And so I just see those two examples specifically. Not saying anyone in my current job is doing that at all. It's not related to my current job. But in the last 2 years, I have seen, outside of it, I've seen both of those scenarios play out more than I care to admit. And with the one, it really irks me, guys. I'm going to throw my parapet on here. I'm going to get up here for a second. I get very agitated when I see semi-professionals or would-be professionals relying on ChatGPT or AI in general to supplement the knowledge that they do not have, when there are those of us who are busting butt to apply ourselves and putting ourselves out there and paying the fees for certifications and learning and getting our resumes rewritten, all that, and all because you're able to somehow, you quickly can do AI, and it makes you sound smart now, and you're the loudest right now, but in the long run, dear God, have you just screwed us over in an epic way? I'm getting off my parapet now. So.
You're fine there. And there was a couple different examples relating to that. So I know two different people who did interviewing for GRC related roles. Both of them shared a very similar experience to where literally they were just reading off the screen and it sounded 100% ChatGPT. There are services out there like that. I even had somebody actually message me and was like, "Hey, what do you think about this tool?" I'm like, don't do that. It's kind of like those note-taking apps. And so it taps into your audio on your computer and then it's able to respond and tell you like what you should be saying in regards to the questions. And then it's also for review and so forth. I think that's a very shady thing to do in the first place.
My favorite one is always in the ever-evolving landscape. I'm like,
yeah. And literally,
please not act like
I was told is that they were literally staring at their screen, reading side to side, and it sounded like ChatGPT. And one of the individuals is definitely a senior in the industry, and they literally told the candidate, they're like, "Okay, now could you turn around and answer the question?" And then the dude's like,
now what do I do?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's where I get passionate, emotional about it, I guess. It's like that is because and it's more so because it's such a disservice, or I don't know if that's the right word, but it's such a diss to the people that are really working their butts off to learn this stuff, who are, and I met a lot of people who I'll say that they're blue collar workers. They're just trying to better their life. And I see them busting their butt, really trying to learn, asking questions, they're taking all the advice. And I'm like, man, these guys are, and then I see some clown come in and it's kind of like, you think I can't, you think I can't tell that that's an AI response?
And like another really good example is like the different quiz questions that we have on the Study GRC YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. That stuff's just brainstormed through AI, and then I go through, verify it, and then I would probably say if I generate 5 questions, probably 3 of those have to actually be manually changed around. Because
but that's good because you're the expert validating the information coming out.
Human in the loop.
It's not the other way, right? It's not the other way around. It's not that you are relying on that information to be the expert. No, you already are that expert or master or whatever term you want to use. So
Chris, that's what I was going to say. It's just when I start with the Chat GPT to help me write the report, by the time I get to the end, half the time I have to rip it in half, and it's like, okay, no, say it like this, and then whatever they give me, I have to chop it in half or rearrange it or pull this part out. It's like, okay, now give me 3 different words for this part because that doesn't sound right. Because I know, and now I kind of know how my director and my assistant general think. So, say this is what I want to say. Give me an auditor version. And then I have to go back and rip it apart again and have it help me refine it. And then it gets ripped apart again by everybody else. So it's still just a launching pad. It's a starting point.
Yeah, definitely a tool perspective. And
a workshop,
like they said, from an exercise point of view there, something like I would like to see, what I think would be kind of cool is like an example would be, backdoors and breaches from Black Hills. Have that with AI bots that you could play against.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
That's actually really my biggest issue. Like we should, I want to do that like regularly in Simply Cyber. It's just hard to line enough people up. So, yeah. So, do you know what backdoors and breaches is, Cyber Gangsters?
No, I mean, I thought you were talking about like actual backdoor breaches from like the practice. Is there like a newsletter or YouTube?
Yeah. So, you can check out the website here. I'm going to drop it on the YouTube.
Look at that. She's got
I've actually done it at work. Yeah, I've actually done it at work.
So check out that website there.
It's a card game from BHIS. What is it? Black Hills InfoSec.
Yeah, it's so freaking cool. And they have a free online version as well, or you can buy the actual slide decks. And so I dropped this link here. And so there's all kinds of different cards that you get and different packs that you can get. You can play online for free. And so like if we click to play online, then we just pick out what expansion pack we want. And this is something we could do in Discord at some point. Like the core pack right here. And then I think you have to have 4 players is the minimum. So, and they have
pretty snazzy, man.
It's really cool.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever heard of that.
I saw Zach Hill. I think it was for one of their live Discord sessions that they ran through this once. I think Daniel Lowry might have hopped in at that point, and a few other people. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of read through the scenario, and you have to pick and choose the right path to go through to handle the problem. It's really a lot of fun.
And there's a point system. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a really cool game. I would really like to see a GRC deck, but still, yeah, because a lot of this does get pretty technical.
Mm-hmm. That's a fantastic idea.
I know. I was like, I never thought about a GRC.
I kind of like that. Yeah.
It is cool.
So who is guys? I hope it didn't feel like it was a bash thing, and I didn't take. I wasn't trying to make that feel that way, but the question does spark these certain things in me only because of the experience that I've had, not ideas, actual experience where I've seen people in this situation. So I'm not saying you guys watching or you guys up here with me that we fall into that kind of category or anything like that. It was more just, I think it's a good point to talk about that because sometimes people feel like, hey, if I have AI around to assist me in that way,
right,
I can do the job. And it's like,
yeah, and I think that's what it all comes down to is just being cautious about how it's leveraged and utilized.
Chris, your real name's up there if you cool with that. I just want you to know. Okay.
It's all right.
Okay. As long as you cool with it, we cool with it.
Hey, man, if it's bad OPSEC, I'll go ahead and change it, man.
No. You good.
I got mine up here. My real one's right there.
Yeah, Space Tacos and PVO are hiding.
Everybody knows my real name.
I know. That's why like PVO is just like your brand at this point.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do the LifeLock guy thing and be like, here's my social security number. Here's my.
Oh, you mean like LifeLock and their TV advertisements?
Yeah, he took them out. They took them out too.
They took them out like 7 or 9 times.
Yeah,
they took him to town. It was like
less than a week.
Dude, I remember where I was when that commercial first aired, and I thought, that's a terrible idea. What are you doing?
No, I liked it, man. Stand on business. As the kids say, stand on business.
Stand on business.
You got your product that good, stand on business.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't have, but it sounded cool.
Are you who is like God on YouTube then to defend your name?
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay. I hope you didn't feel too. I hope I didn't come across as attacking you.
Oh, no.
Okay, good.
I'm Marine, man. You can't do much to me.
Well, I can be disrespectful, and I don't want to be. So that's not the goal I have.
Calm down, Jamie. Calm down.
I'm not saying it like I was trying. I'm saying like you can unknowingly be. I wasn't trying to be. So but I am interested in more of what you were saying of what sparked the question and just your point of view and perspective on it all.
Yeah, mainly what ended up happening was I actually reached out to Chris a little while ago. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. We had a conversation in Discord. I had met up with my mentor, and I told him I was going to create a project for my group, and we're going to go ahead and do exactly what you did, Chris, and create a risk register, use CISO assistant, show it off that way, and show that we've learned how to use policies and map policies. But my mentor was like, hey, man, well, most of this stuff, if you go and try to make let's say a privacy policy, most of the time that's written by a legal department. So it's going to be hard for you to do that. But if you're able to do it, what you do is just go straight to another company's website and copy theirs, throw it in ChatGPT, and you're done. So there's not much real world experience on how I would implement that with a real company. I can kind of go through the movements. I can learn about different policies, procedures, SOPs, but actually creating a fictitious company or using it off of a real company is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
What I was going to add there is, especially when it comes to the risk register, what I've typically recommended to people when they want to do it as a project is think about a company you worked for before. If you worked in retail, identify those risks, because that's the whole point of it, is to showcase you can identify it, figure out the mitigations and likelihood and impact. But yeah, I see where you're kind of coming from at it. But also like another aspect, especially when it comes to policy, is there's still a lot of companies where the GRC is still, or even risk management still has that control over the policy management. And especially when it comes to audit. So if something happens or it needs to be reviewed, it's still not uncommon for that to be outside of the legal and then be advised by legal team for revisions.
Yeah, I worked. I've never seen our legal team look at our policies. I'm trying to think about that.
Oh God, poor PBO. PBO's like,
Yeah.
maybe we should send out an email.
No, don't get me wrong though. I was talking about this. I do a lot of RFPs, RFIs for vendors. They call it MSAs, Master Service Agreement. Now, legal's gonna write all that up. There is a GRC perspective in there because we got our security exhibit, our DPAs, which are data process agreements. I think a lot of people don't really talk about that. So legal's heavily involved in that, but from a policy perspective, because really from a policy perspective, it's coming from management. It's the overview of what management wants, right? Somebody actually put a password policy inside our Discord. I'm saying ours was Chris's. I don't really see password policies a lot. I usually see we're doing identification, and I see our password procedures about how we do it and how we onboard and offboard. So I don't really see a lot of password. But once again, I do federal and big work, so I think that's what Chris was talking about, where your projects can be a little more real world, depending on the size of your company too.
And I think that's what makes it so difficult, is that no two organizations are operated the same either. So
my only kind of pushback is, you correct though, but if you're doing a NIST policies, there's certain NIST subfamilies and families I need to see in there. Now, how you write them and how you implement them, but there's certain things I need to see inside of a NIST policy that I need to check the box on.
PBO is going to be throwing fists with Study GRC in the near future.
Y'all small company, so I see what y'all doing. And that's the thing about being mature, right? You're a small company getting started. I don't expect you to have a NIST 800-53 that's going to be audited by Booz Allen, and you're going to turn it into the Department of DOD, right? Right. So there's some realism, right? If you're just starting out, you should have some just starting out policies, right? But that's different levels to it, right? And so if you want to get paid, though, you want to do like a PCI policy, because those are big companies using those policies, and they're going to be audited against those, right? So I think that's kind of, I won't say more real world, but that's the stuff you really get paid for. Chime in on that, Jay. Chime in on that.
On that, when you say that, PBO, I'm thinking like, so NIST, and correct me if I'm wrong, NIST is kind of like almost like a self-reporting type of compliancy. There's no outside force exerting it or pressuring any organization to comply with it. Is that correct?
That's it. Well, yes and no. What the no is, NIST is a base policy, but I do IRS work that sits on top of NIST, right? So IRS really is doing the same 20 families. Booz Allen's going to come in and review our state agency. If you're doing FedRAMP, the 3 PAOs are going to come and review FedRAMP. So depending on,
so there is a governing body that's like, it's not necessarily NIST, but it's like, hey, IRS, you guys have to have a compliancy, and maybe it even says NIST, but so there is, but it's not NIST exactly, but it is someone that the IRS reports to in that.
Yeah, but if you look at NIST, inside NIST it says agency defined. They say this is the base, but then the different federal agencies like IRS is NIST, FBI's NIST, which state police rolls up to. There's probably I think Medicaid and Medicare is NIST. So there's like 4 or 5 big state government agencies that the state gets audited by. So
okay, and so that's what I was gonna say. Like with PCI, thanks for answering that. So with PCI, we do have an external body exerting force onto us in the company, where fines are levied against us for not being compliant.
Facts.
And not saying that it's not a who's worse or who's not kind of situation. This is just a point of reference for those of you who are looking at PCI. And I don't know of any of the other compliancies that have, like, basically you get fined for not being compliant. Where'd he go? I wanted to stick around.
He's fine. He's gonna be in the audience. I think
I feel bad now because he had a question I wanted us to talk about some more. But unknown, come back in, man. I'm so sorry. You can tell.
He might have disconnected too.
Okay. You're welcome, and I want to talk more with you, man. So anyway, but with PCI, yeah. So you get fined by your acquirer or bank if you're not compliant, right? If you're not compliant, and they'll know because the bank or your acquirer, that's who's telling you be compliant, or else you're going to get a monthly, yearly, whatever the fee or fines are. They're going to levy them against you, and so it's not a government mandated compliancy, But if you accept credit cards, and again, it's limited to that credit card niche field. If you accept credit cards, you have to comply or you fall out of compliancy. And not only do you get charged, which is crazy, right? Now, you think it's crazy, but it makes sense. But then you don't get that fancy badge that we are PCI compliant. And so if you get a breach during that time, man, you know what I mean? The chips are stacked against you worse by that. So
did you have another question there, Unknown, or
earlier
you don't have to be on the stage if you don't want to. Yeah,
hey, I'm okay being in the sunshine, man.
You had brought up something earlier. Where I'm looking for it.
I thought we answered it, but maybe I'm wrong.
One of the other things that I was going to mention too, when you're looking at potential projects. So Mafia Institute is one of the things we mentioned before. I think it's like $600 for their program here. So they have, I'll drop this in chat here in just a moment. They have a GRC certification from here. You're not going to find this on job resumes or anything else. What's unique about this is that this is probably the most intensive program that I've found regarding GRC in particular. And what's really useful is, so if you wanted to, if you had those kind of funds for $600 for a certification that's not on job applications and you're just in it for knowledge, you can go that route. But what's cool about it is you could see the syllabus here. And so, yeah, it's $595, but it's over 600 hours worth of training. And they're unique in the fact that you go through everything. So they have a list of all kinds of different projects that you do. And then you submit that for grading. And then other people who have completed the program who volunteer for them or their own instructors will go through and give you a grade and feedback on your projects that you complete. And they have a very wide array worth of stuff in here. You can access up to 100 hours worth of projects for no cost. And one of the things I really like is even if you're not going to go through with it, you could still come over here and look at the syllabus and start researching the topics that they talk about in here. So it gives you a really good outline of different things that maybe you should look into and research and learn.
I will definitely check that out. I need some more real world knowledge.
So why don't you ask this question? Who's like, I want to hear it from you just since you're here. But I can't click on it. You were asking about GRC and AI.
Yeah, I was wondering. I can't see it up here right now.
It's at 1841:30. That's the timestamp.
Oh, 18.
Chris is gonna highlight it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Chris is looking for it.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, what I was wondering is with LLMs becoming so prominent now in all these different domains, where do you expect the actual work to be done at? Because if the policies and continuous development is done through AI checking to make sure things are done correctly, what would an entry level or even a senior level employee do? Because policies are defined by executives, and then SOPs are just executed pipelines. All this can be done by AI.
I have a thought, but Taco or PBO, do y'all want to say something first?
No, I was gonna let you go. You were ready, man. I'm gonna follow you. You were ready. I'm gonna follow you, big dog.
They're throwing you in the
question
bus
was a
here.
great question.
It is.
I enjoy talking about AI and
Go ahead,
impact to our work and business. And look, I'm a proponent for anything that advances technology and that we have a healthy respect for how it impacts lives, right? And so the deterrent to this that I see this, I feel like I see more deterrent than acceptance on this unknown. And the only reason I say that is because companies, at least the companies I've worked for, have put out anti-AI policies where they don't want it, because right now that again, I don't want to sound like an echo, but that AI uses aggregate data. They're afraid of their company data getting mixed up with everyone else's, and then all of a sudden it's like, how did we not keep this separate? It should have been. And there are separations where you can have a localized AI, right? I don't know enough about that, the localized LLMs, but there is something to me that tells me that they still do have an interaction with the core LLM, like in ChatGPT. So maybe it's not exclusively, but knowing that door exists, I feel like that's a company is going to be more against it. And they're probably, if they're willing to come up with their own proprietary AI for themselves. So if that comes through, though, I know that there's going to want to be that validation is going to have to be 99.99%, right? And it's going to have to be updated as new new controls come into existence. But there's going to be an automation piece that they're going to want to make sure is compliant or works with it, because that's my perspective right now, is that automation. And so if I'm going, like I'm about to have to kick off a SAC-D, right? One of the things that I'm looking for is how automated can it be? Because I don't want to have to continue myself send out, but I'd like to be like, I need requirement 2.2.1 by itself. So let me click on that, and it's going to send it to all the people it needs to send and request the evidences it's going to need, and then send that back to me, let me know. And then how much is AI going to take out of that? So
yeah,
all that to say, go ahead, Chris.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, I think you're pretty much on point with it. At this day and age, like there's already AI that's being used as a tool in a lot of the GRC software and everything else. One of the different issues, and like Josh also mentions in chat here, is that the stakeholders aren't going to step in and communicate with AI for their risk strategy and so forth. That's just never going to happen. And then like one of the different other aspects is that there's still a huge limitation too, and a level of risk involved with the AI, because then what are they going to do when, the AI said we're good to go. I have no idea why we weren't doing this reporting, or, oh, this was wrong or that was wrong, going up in front of a court and, with millions of people watching you on why, you got breached and lost everybody's, data because you were relying on AI is probably not the right suit. I just don't think that AI is really there yet. I think what I foresee, and like I've said before, is that what I'm waiting for is AGI for artificial general intelligence, which I think is, especially with quantum computers in the next 10, 15 years, that's when things like that are way more possible.
Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet. It's interesting to see, like, if you look at the different GRC tools out there already, like it's cool to see how we can leverage it. I think that a lot of the GRC tools started going by like, oh, what's the likelihood and impact of this? But then you also have like a whole context issue too, because, some people, some auditors may be more informed than AI is. But then now you also have AI now that has access to real world information. So, because like when you're doing your likelihood and impact, that's pretty subjective and, industry based and so forth. But then now you're having it, select controls and prioritize. And there's a lot of different things that are going into these programs now. And I think eventually we are going to have more AI implemented for compliance. But there's always going to be a level of human in the loop.
So train the AI and train the person?
Yeah.
Train the AI to train the person?
No, train the AI and
yeah. It was a joke thinking.
Oh, my bad.
No, that's
well,
okay.
in Black Hills, talking about Black Hills, they just recently had several different workshops on AI, on doing your own local one, using it for security and all this and that. And like one of their LinkedIn posts was outlining the fact that, moving forward in the future, like AI is not going anywhere. It's such a useful tool. It's going to be around.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so much investment into it. So it's better to learn how to use it to make your job easier.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I would advise if you are just getting into GRC or you're working to get into GRC, I would be very careful on how you leverage AI knowledge with them. I think a pitfall can be is like if you highlight how much AI you use, and the idea being like, well, are you going to be using AI on company time and inputting our documents and data and suggestions? And it's like, oh my God. There's some organizations that haven't even addressed AI usage within their companies yet.
Yeah, probably too many. And Mike has a great example here.
Hey, what up, Mike?
Yeah.
I know, Mike. Sorry, I was getting all excited.
Following underneath the vendor category. That's a really good point.
So the PCI Security Council did recently, within the last 3 weeks, they did just release an artificial
PCI
intelligence use scenario thing. I have it downloaded. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but they do have a stance on it. They do have a stance on
Yeah,
it.
they should. But that's a good point about like putting company info in, because that's something I work hard on to do the audit. I try to make sure to delete any insider information when I ask it to rephrase things for me.
So, unknown. Let me ask you, with that question that you thought, what would you say is a good? What would you feel like would be a good? What's the dream? I guess. What would if it could be, if we didn't have to worry about whatever? What kind of scenario would you like AI to be used in GRC?
Hey man, that's a difficult question, but I've read a lot of Isaac Asimov, man. So I kind of see more of a symbiotic thing happening between AI and humans at this point. Like Space Talkers was talking about, I'd much rather at this point with AI, I'd much rather see something that's more of a quality feature, low, medium, high. If I'm coding something and I'm taking somebody's information and putting it in, I'd like it to pop up red. Hey, you can't do that. And then link it to any kind of framework saying that this is why you can't do this. Or a law.
And another really good mention here too is the OCEG. I do like their free resources available, and they did a really good report last year, and it was like 2024, GRC and AI usage. And so they did a report, and they ended up surveying like over 500 different businesses that were like over 200 employees, and about 30% of them, I think it was like 33%, so like a third, were using AI in decision making already. So, but a more alarming statistic there is that less of them even had policies and procedures on that usage.
Facts.
So I'm going to link to the actual, I don't think this is the direct one. I got to find the direct one.
But two is, I think Jamie brought it up, is like, I think AI gives you a lot of low hanging fruit, but like they put in there, AI is not going to tell the business what their risk appetite is, right? Then a lot of times too is you can have AI, like me and Jamie was talking about, is if you can't do this particular hardening, what's your compensating controls to do that, right? So what compensating controls as a company are you going to accept? I don't think AI can help you do that, because it depends on your architecture, depends on what you're trying to do. So I think there's a lot of things that on top of the pyramid that AI is not going to help you with, right?
And that level of customization too, right? You see how people can customize their LLMs to respond different ways and stuff, and it's like, holy cow, if you allow that, people's interpretation of what's going on can be, I don't know, I feel like, with security, it can be very misleading at times too.
But don't get me wrong, I use AI to kind of help me say, okay, there's some choices, especially here's an AWS, here's some services, here's some features. But like Jamie said, is what does the business, because really people, all this stuff, really the business can really accept the risk at a certain level. Maybe not a PCI because they have some hard things, but a lot of times I'm with business, they're like, nah, PBO, we ain't doing that. I'm like, well, dude, it says this. Nah, we ain't doing it. You need to come up with a compensating control, right? So AI can help me say these are the lists, but I have to kind of use my experience. Okay, this is an Oracle, this is a this will work. This is what we have in the budget, right? And two, even if you feed that to AI, you got to get that prompt right for AI to kind of even start giving you the right answers, right? When you get to that level of complexness. So I think that's kind of where AI helps you with the kind of entry in the middle. But when you go to the top level, like Jamie, Space Tacos, they have that history and knowledge that they got to add to AI. So I think that's some parts where AI is still struggling. And like Jamie, I work for companies, they won't let you put shit in AI because that's our IP, that's our intellectual property.
Right.
That's true.
So let me ask you this, in that same vein, and yeah. So do you feel like AI should be automatically shut down from the organization? Like the firewall should just nix that port, that the web addresses for all, LLMs that you can access?
I think if you're not already doing that, then you're doing your job wrong. That's my opinion. So if you do not have policies, if you don't have a dedicated system for AI usage within your organization, and you're not blocking LLM, then you're not doing the job right. because that's a huge issue for data loss and so forth as well. Like, look at Sony with their programming, and we already know that it's so popular. And even if you block it, it doesn't mean it's going to be 100% because employees still have their cell phones and so forth. But I think that a lot of companies not only already lack the policies and procedures on it, but then they're not doing those safeguards to prevent it from happening. So, and then there's organizations like with Copilot that have, you know, a deployment for it, which in that case, that's different if they have their own deployment.
Man, they just using that shit out the box, man. You giving them too much credit, man. You giving people too much credit, man. You giving people too much credit, man. Go ahead, Jamie. Go ahead.
Brexy and Chef both say their employees they're not allowed to use AI.
Yes.
On their job. So it says NASA doesn't allow their employees to use AI. Brexy says they blocked AI sites in their organization,
which I feel is the right way of doing it. That's straight risk management right there. That's safeguards to prevent bad things from happening.
How do you initiate a conversation about, hey, company, we don't have an AI policy?
The big dogs. Well, it seemed like, which I see a lot of CISOs and CIOs, it's talked about. Everybody's talking, so everybody thinks they need one, because if you don't have one now, you're not cool almost. Right?
Yeah.
I think because if you read any magazine, right, we're talking AI, so I think everybody knows they have an AI policy. I don't think they know what the hell they put in it, but I think a lot of people have one.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a little bit more obvious nowadays, and people have a better understanding of the risks that are involved than, 2 or 3 years ago. People didn't even think about that. But I mean, people in their personal lives are still uploading their family photos for, different styles of photos still. So, there's that too.
Yeah.
And then also, like McCoy asked, I wonder if people at Google are allowed to use Gemini. They have their own internal. And that's the biggest thing, is that there are systems and services available to businesses that provide you, business contracts and agreements. What is it, a BPA for business partner agreement with these different providers that, provide you certain protections, or even like your own isolated model, especially if you're a big boy. So, it kind of limits some of that.
Yeah, shout out
Something I was going to mention right quick before
we talking about the DPA, but go ahead. Josh EC was talking about the DPA.
Yeah, I was just going to throw this out there. So just because I feel like doing it, I wanted to just auction off a giveaway here for like these pins, or if you want a t-shirt. So take a look at these pins. All you have to do is just drop GRC in capital letters in the YouTube chat, and then DM me on Discord for if you win the giveaway here. So we have this bot over here that's going to keep track of it. I just felt like giving away a t-shirt or some pins. These pins I think are pretty nerdy, to be honest with you. This little drawing one, that doesn't even have any words.
Jamie, go ahead and mute. I'm telling Jamie to mute. He's typing so hard. It's just go ahead. I'm over. He's shaking my brain. Go ahead.
Yeah, breaking down barriers. With the little guy karate kicking the wall down. But yeah, go ahead and continue there, PBO.
No, but yeah, shout out to Jamie. He was talking about the DPAs and the legal part, because when you work for big companies and you're doing RPs, RFI, legal does it, but then they put your security in there, your DPA, and they make sure it's legally bound. And I did a video on that if you want to see it. But no, that's the big companies. You got to make sure that they work together. I think I'm gonna do a video on security exhibits and data processing agreements, kind of the new hot word for those, especially when you're doing third-party assessments. My fault, Jamie. You was just typing so hard.
No. It's okay. I'm sorry. So I was typing because Chef was like, "Man, you let him call you Jamie, and you're not correcting him to Hyman." I was like, "Yeah, it's hard for people when the name technically spells what they're saying correctly." So, yeah. I tell people I work with to call me Jamie. I tell people who are my friends to call me Jaime.
I still think Cyber Gangsters is just easier than all of them.
Facts,
I go off of usernames way better than anything else.
I'll be supporting him, man. I'll be in his Discord. I'll be in everybody's Discord a little bit, just dropping in.
Yeah, you are. He's like, now the party can start when PBO arrives.
So also changing it a little bit there, I was curious. I think it was last week or the last AMA, You remember that conversation we were having, and you had mentioned it before about, sending data overseas and the restrictions coming down from an executive order regarding that. Did you look into that at all, PBO, yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's a standing one for this. You got to keep it in CONUS, continental United States, or they changed that's basic.
I'm talking about the one where they're actually starting to push to where, like, if you are selling information or trading information overseas to like Russia, North Korea, China, then it's considered restricted data or a restricted transaction.
I did not look that up. I remember I did not look that up. I'm so NIST focused. I'm like, this got to be in continental United States. We're not, or Puerto Rico.
Well, so it's already drafted into the Federal Register, which is what makes me believe that they're actually going to enforce this stuff come October. And then PBO's like,
For me, is most of those guys got data brokers in the United States, and there's just so much brokering in the United States. For me, I think that cat's already out the bag, to be honest. But I could be wrong.
And that was kind of my opinion too, is that I feel like that information's already out there anyways.
Yeah.
But also, like, a really interesting statistic from a privacy standpoint is, let's say you go completely dark from the internet for 6 months. You don't leave your house. You don't get put on CCTV cameras for 6 months. The data that they have on you is now considered worthless to them. If you just go completely dark off the grid for 6 months, the information's outdated.
I don't think that's true. The reason why I say that is LexisNexis make $1 billion on shit you had 10 years ago, because they already have your digital. They already know your behavior. PBL gonna go to a nice restaurant. He fat. He gonna have a steak and he's gonna have a vodka. That shit ain't changed for 20 years.
They're like, he lost the YouTube monetization, so we're taking the barbecue out for this weekend.
So long story, what do I get from that? On Facebook, I get a lot of fancy restaurants and a lot of free stuff. Come see us. That behavior is not going to change. I'm old. So I don't think 6 years.
Man, I didn't think about leveraging that from a marketing standpoint. Jeez.
Come on, man.
I need to start like booking some like high-end hotels and then.
I know how to social engineer PBO now.
Yeah.
You didn't know that. Yeah, just Facebook makes a living. Just share a couple fancy restaurants. Look at all your ads.
Oh, but you know what, PBO? All I have to do is go in there and type in, I don't give Meta permission to store any of my data, and it'll wipe it out.
No, you're right. I guess, and you're right.
Should.
And I guess from my point of view,
he likes some discounts.
Facebook gives you a ton of value for free. You paying with your privacy, right? Yeah. So for me, it's like I get a lot of stuff from Facebook. So if you want to send PBO a nice restaurant voucher, I'm cool with that, right? But so I see what you're saying. I'm just kind of like, what? So that's how they get paid, is with my privacy. So I feel like that's an even trade. But like you said, I'm not trying to hide anything. Hell, I'll be 58 this year. Black dudes don't live at 67. I only got about 9 more years.
And nonetheless, you are a government background and so forth. So I think you care less. But like from the large majority is for marketing, and that data does expire eventually. They need that recurring for accurate information.
Well, yes and no, but what I think happens is they have profiles. So when you pick a certain profile, they put you in a bank of people that this is what you do. This is your profile, right? So
okay, PBO, on that, you just unlocked a memory I had. I worked check this out. I worked at an insurance company, okay? Oh. And a coworker had said, yo, check this out. And they had found some documentation in some sub databases somewhere, right? When we opened it, it said something to like, guy, trigger warning for some folks. Okay, let me just tell you. There were files based on races of people. Mm-hmm, yeah. And the insurance company, it's like the DSM, okay? Mm-hmm. This thing was like very clear on if you're a black person living in the ghetto, if you're a black person living in the $100,000 to $200,000 range, et cetera. I mean, it was so crazy. It was so detailed.
There was a massive lawsuit.
Exactly.
There was a massive lawsuit in Minnesota just a couple of years ago because they were profiling based on price, literally on where you lived and what your authenticity was.
The term for that, and it happens with laws, is digital redlining. They used to do it with properties. It's called digital redlining. So if you live in a certain area, you're in a certain race, they're gonna put you in this certain box.
I'm so glad I got your disclaimer up in time.
Facts.
Reading this long thing.
Study GRC, half the population got no.
That's
and what was it? The last video you came up on, you were talking about your that other group that you went up on as well, which I thought was really funny.
There's a lot of places. There's a lot of different sectors in YouTube. I'm in some crazy sectors sometimes. As the kids say, I want all the smoke. So I could be over here. I could be debating. I could be with nationals. I could be with the gender war. There's a lot of different places on YouTube where PBO just shows up. But sometimes people invite me to those places. I have to decline because I'm getting older. But there's a lot of debating going on YouTube. A lot for not the good. Go ahead, Chris. Let's get back on topic. My bad.
Oh, yeah. No, I just think it's really good information to be aware of. Like Jack Scott was the first person I really saw digging down onto the ethics and bias as well. I think it was in Iowa where businesses were utilizing AI for resume review, and it was being biased based on name or even like area. And so they actually ended up enacting a law where you can't do that for hiring processes.
Here's the thing, guys. If you want your resume to be tip top, give yourself.
I know where you're going.
Where are you going there? Do I need
a very bland and generic name?
Thank you. Give yourself a very bland and generic
and
your resume is like, woohoo!
Keep that up, because I'm about to say something crazy. If your name is Tayshawn, you could be in problems getting a job. Your name Tayshawn, you can have a problem. It's
not wrong.
Daquan, you might have a problem.
We're not lying up here. We're telling you. It's horrible. I remember when the AI art thing, which I'm oh my gosh, I would be like, create for me a Mexican jogger who's very happy and blah blah blah. Like I would preface it because I wanted her skin tone to be, just in case I'm Mexican American myself. So I was like, okay, and I was like, what the flip is you trying to give me nightmares or something? What did you just do? And so after a couple times in Midjourney specifically, I remember this. I was like, wait a minute. So then I erased the Mexican, and oh my God, it was like Mary Mother of God was just created. I'm like, you racist piece of like what in the world, AI? Come on, man.
The sad part is I just expected so I'm just so jaded in my old age now. That's what I expected to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this is a legitimate issue. Jack Scott's talked about it. She did an entire course on it as well. And the problem with LLMs is the fact that they're trained on publicly available data, and it's naturally biased. And we have hundreds and hundreds of years worth of information that gets fed into it, and they don't have anything else to give it.
Anything with automation is built. I don't even know how you want to phrase that, right? But
I got the phrase.
Not part of the majority.
No, I got the phrase.
Stick.
I got the phrase. Chris can take down the sun. It's created for the dominant society because people were doing artificial intelligence, facial recognition.
Yep.
The Stanford brilliant guys didn't test it on black people. Black people were 40% wrong. So you tested, you in Stanford, they tested on no people of color.
So dumb.
And that's because the facial recognition.
They're programmers.
Yes. They got trouble. Go. Detroit was misidentifying everybody.
Every time people would be like, that's not me. And then other people were getting tickets, speeding tickets, and they're like, this isn't me. They're like, you even caught the vehicle, but you went with my facial recognition on this?
So as soon as the police looked at the photo, it looked nothing like them. And they were so I wish I was in the people were getting $300,000 on false arrest. I'm like, I'm about to roll to Detroit and get me a house, man.
Oh God.
Roll through there. Yeah, you need to put up the sign now, Chris. Put up my sign.
I think so.
Put my sign
Remember
up.
that one time we had to slowly exit PBO out the back?
You're like slowly muting his mic, turning his mic down.
Just slowly easing it. Oh, I don't know what's going on with your microphone, PBO.
Facts, yeah. But yeah, I did 3
well,
videos on it, so I know it's true. I did 3 videos on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so like that's also like one of the different things in the sector that I don't like is that it's conversations like these that have to be known, but then also we get that political side too, and that's something that I hate. I'm like one of the most unpolitical people you'll ever meet. But especially like looking at the privacy side that I'm really interested in, there's no way you could really do that without having politics involved to some extent. Like you have to take it into account, and it's the exact same thing when you're looking at a lot of risk as well, and just in GRC in general, there's still politics, whether it's business politics or the actual environment.
Yeah, but for me, because I do a lot of risk, and I used to do it for a large company, is once I do the risk, I put it in management hands. This is the risk. This is it. Here's our compensating controls. You as an executive, I laid out the risk. I gave you the pros and cons. I'm done. As long as you pay me, I don't care what you do, man. You can pick the risk, accept the risk, pay for the risk, get insurance for the risk, right? Transfer the risk. But yeah, there's some things.
I'm curious about what the risk management process involved with Budweiser and their can labels, for an example. That's kind of like the stuff that I'm talking about. Can
you be more specific? I think I know where you're going with.
Yeah.
Just put your toe in it.
With it.
So that wasn't a risk. That wasn't a risk.
What?
So if you guys are unfamiliar, Budweiser ended up changing the labels on their can. I think it was Budweiser. Oh no, it was Bud Light.
I thought it was
changed the labels on their cans from Bud Light, and it had a political attachment to it, and so a large amount of their user base ended up boycotting them. They lost.
Say it, Chris. Say what it was.
What was it?
I want to know.
I'll go, Chris. Put my side up, Chris. I'm gonna say it.
So if I remember offhand correctly, I believe it was transgender who was on the women's team, sports team, or something along those lines that was put on the can for Bud Light.
So a special edition can?
Yeah,
they put it on millions and millions of cans.
It was special edition. They changed to that whole market.
They just changed it like completely from the OG design to the transgender athlete.
Correct. For like an entire season is what they did.
I was more than that. It was like 2 years.
Yeah. Well, and so
the entire beer season.
Yeah, and so like I'm using that as an example of, that's still where like politics and all of that kind of stuff also comes in to an extent into that risk management strategy too, because then also what is their approval? What is their process for approving things like changing labeling on products and all kinds of different services and things?
No, don't get me wrong. And I'm guessing, but I work for big companies. There was a huge internal what they thought it would do. They thought their OGs was going to stay. They ran that as a huge campaign because they thought they were going to get a new 20% of the market. But they pissed off their other 80% of the guys with, I don't want to sound racist, with shotguns and long beards and flannel. They pissed all them guys off.
Put the ticker up.
So they were like, they started burning cans and they said they're never going to buy it anymore. Jump in if I'm overestimating, Chris, what I'm saying. But yeah,
no, you're fine.
But real quick, it's like, who signed off on that shit? It's like, dude, are you crazy?
And so like I'm just using that as like one of the different examples. There are other examples in business too, because that does involve risk management. That's reputational damage right there. That really affected the business.
Security risk management. That's I don't even know if I'd say risk management, but I feel like I understand what you're saying, Chris. And I think
go ahead,
Jamie. I think that would fall under like just the marketing risk.
That's marketing. I don't even think they put that under risk. I think because when you think of it, I think they thought they were getting a new market. They did probably think about, we're so in this other market, they're never going to leave us. Because Target's having that same problem right now, right? Mm-hmm. So they try to figure out we did this.
I'm okay.
Drop that.
No, I'm okay with that.
So, and like you said, I'm trying to be nice. So there's a lot of companies, but two, I feel bad for Target because that kind of came down from the White House. So they're kind of this catch-22. So you got to figure out, for me, and I'm with Jamie, I don't put that under risk, Chris. I think there is some risk. But for me, that's just marketing. That's going for new markets. I'm sure there's some risk, and I'm sure they say, okay, this is going to lead. For me,
for an example, in that particular situation, my understanding is that there was no checks and balances. It was left to a single individual who made that decision, who was who was from a management role. They weren't C-suite or anything else. And so
I would
look
say
at
yes,
that as
then,
a
Chris, under that it is a risk, but then under that umbrella, it's like, okay, are we talking about a security risk or business risk or whatever
it's
else?
reputational.
Marketing risk.
Yeah, reputation. Yeah, it's definitely not a security risk at all. 0%.
Yeah, but that's also like one of the big things in GRC is it's not always security. There's a lot of different types of risks that do not involve security.
I don't think I'm understanding completely.
So underneath GRC, like we have the entire security side, but also look at like occupational safety and so forth. That's a form of risk that follows underneath it as well, but it's not security per se. Now you could say it's securing, cost fines, things like that. But there's other activities that do not directly correlate to security.
I've been in those activities, and those are super rare, but you're right. But once again, I work as a consultant for the state that has 40,000 people. So, I mean, it's rare. Like, I'm like Jamie from a mid to small company. I just don't see that very often. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, well, and so that's where I'm saying, like, utilizing that as an example of where politics can coincide with that. And, like, even if you are in a risk management role and you're involved with the policies and procedures of, like, how we change the branding, obviously you shouldn't be involved with that aspect as far as the decision making, but putting into place where there's some type of approval process or a committee that is in charge of that, especially multiple individuals. That's
I'm like Josh CC. That's usually at an enterprise level, and even a CISO don't touch that because you're really talking about marketing, and CISOs usually don't. We don't. And I'm usually underneath there. We very rarely get in those meetings and talk about that. Now, from
maybe we should.
No, I plate's already full. Two is I don't want.
I got a big mouth, Chris.
Two is I'm trying to stay in my lane, man.
Yeah.
If you
what I
want to
like about
my
job is my job is very siloed, and I'm like, I will help with our security posture. I'm okay with that. There's not too much gray. It's really a lot of black and white. I'm okay with that. But if I go anywhere else,
and I'm gonna be real honest, and I'm gonna put my sign up is I'm not touching the transgender issue. I'm gonna walk out the room. I'm not putting my toe in that. I'm not putting my finger in that. If you want to change the can or whatever you want to, I know, Jamie, that ain't coming out right. My bad, PBO having a bad day. But yeah, I'm not touching that, Chris. I think that's more of a business. That's executive, a whole nother wing of the court. Yeah, Jamie, that didn't come out right. but
I know what you meant, bro. But
I know. I didn't realize till I saw you laugh. But so, Chris, for me personally, I don't think GRC's in that realm.
My entire point is just like when it comes to the processes of such, I feel like there should be some level of reporting. There should be some type of level of approval processes put in place.
It is.
So yeah.
Even with that one person, he did some good things in the future, and they gave him that level of authority. That wasn't by accident.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people in big companies, if you the man or the woman, you got that type of cachet, and that's what they pay you $500,000 to make those decisions. That's in your lap to make those decisions.
That's the scary part on now. A lot of businesses, especially decision-wise, are left up to single individuals. It seems.
But that's why those people make that money, because they've done those type of campaigns before. They done took a company that was down in the dumps and gave them new marketing and brought them back up. That's why they make $500,000 and $750,000, because that's what they do. Those are turnaround agents in a lot of big companies. You give them a level of authority. For me, I'm like, Jamie, that has nothing to do with cybersecurity and risk from that perspective, right? Like you said, there's marketing risk, but as for my side, especially from a GRC, we're not over there. Now, we can argue we should be, but I don't want none of that. I don't want none of that.
Like PBO said, you got 9 years left. Well, and that's also where it goes across the entire organization is, risk management is way more. Of course, technology is going to make up the largest part of that, especially in this day and age. But it seems like there's other areas of the business that are being neglected in a lot of areas, even with teams of GRC.
I don't think they're neglected, Chris. I think you think they're neglected. I think they have a bunch of MBAs. You got vice presidents. You got Ivy League degrees. They're handling that section. I don't think it's as visible as us, I think you shortchanging those guys, man. But go ahead, James.
I also feel like in that same vein, though, it's like a lot of organizations just don't have the manpower to put towards things, right? So we go about this every year. It's like, what is the we got to for the budgets, right? We have to allocate the budget properly, and so when you're thinking about the next, like, for example, I've been in companies where it's like, oh, okay, we used to have this budget for cybersecurity forever, but now we have, because of certain purchases or whatever circumstances, we've elevated into a different level now. And so now this level actually comes with an additional, I'll just say like $350,000 requirement, because we've got to hire a QSA outside of the company now to come in and do they've got to recheck our work. And some companies, they're like, we have to do $500,000 now because we also want to hire a gap analysis team to come in before that, so that we can minimize or mitigate the time that the QSA is on site and doing their work, because they're a premium dollar. And so it's like, at the end of the day, though, if if a $500 job is quoted, but you only have $100 to work with, and you got to make it work for the whole year, it's kind of like, I do think that some organizations, they don't have the budgetary possibility to do some of the work that they should do. And so you get a lot of piecemealing, right? You get a lot of piecemealing. Whoa,
well, this is interesting.
We got Inception tacos. Man,
alrighty then.
That's that multi-clone shadow jutsu right there.
Go ahead and leave on whichever one you want to take out.
Shout out to Space Taco. But now that's a good too, Jamie, is budgets. I think people leave out budgets and what they're trying to do, and that's part of your poem and your risk register. Okay, we want to do this. We have no funding till 2026. So what does that look like? And can we survive? Or do we got some mitigating controls to put in that, right? So we can, like we talked about, our compensating controls. What can we put in so we can poem until next year? Go ahead, Jay.
No, so for everyone out there, it's like, this is why contracts are very important. I know we know generally contracts are important, but if your contract isn't stating with your vendors or whoever you're hiring to help you out with any of your postures, if that contract isn't in place and isn't spelled out, you will find a bill that comes in automatic, later on for more than you budgeted for, and then you just realize your entire budget was eaten up within the first quarter of the project. Holy cow! What do you do?
Yeah, and inside NIST, shout out to NIST's service acquisitions. Inside all your contract, you should have security language and privacy. Can you audit them? What's their security level? Should they be at yours? So all that should be in. And I think shout out to Josh EC. That's part of your security exhibits and your data processing agreements. Like, so that should have your budget, what you're trying to do, what's your security requirements. And I see we used to push back. So a lot of times they want to come on site and audit you anytime they want. We like, no, you can't do that, homie. We need 30 days. We need 30 days notice. Go ahead, Chris.
Is it just me, or did those topics make it feel like the meeting was twice as long?
For what?
This meeting?
Yeah.
I was enjoying it. I've been enjoying it.
Yeah.
I could talk about anything. I'm old.
I'm with PB. Yeah.
I can go with it. Sometimes I go too far, obviously, but
my problem is, do you give me a microphone and an audience? Jeez, I'm on cloud 9.
Facts, man.
I'm like, yeah.
Check one, check two. I can freestyle like it's a rap.
Man. Right, PBO? Right? You're like, you don't have a topic tonight? That's fine. We'll run it. We got you back. We'll carry it. We'll make sure everyone's having fun. We're having a good time.
Yeah. Chris thought he was joking. I'm like, PBO can come and do a presentation. I got plenty of slides. What you want to talk about? Anytime, anywhere.
Kind of sort of joking, but I knew you would follow through with it if I actually asked.
Yeah, PBO's got slides for days.
I
got talking points all over the place. So
shout out to Space Tacos. We can go stig up. We can just stig it up today. Stig.
The hardest part is figuring out which topic.
Facts.
I got it on. I got 800 videos. I got a lot of topics. I got 800 videos.
The problem is,
I got 8,000 comic books around here. I can pick something out of here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to your presentation coming up, Jamie, about PCI 5.0.
Yay.
Facts.
I think that's going to be really enlightening.
Is he being bullied right now?
5-0. Shout out to the 5-0.
That's your mouth.
Wow.
I'm not gonna live that one down. Oh my gosh, Chris, I have been meaning to reach back out to you. I saw you message me, and I have been. It's right there, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I figured I'd just call you at some point. I thought
Yeah,
you were
I'm
just
so sorry. I'm
avoiding
not
me.
ignoring you on purpose. We are about to get ready to do our kickoff over
As
here.
many of you guys know,
Yeah.
like it's not uncommon for it to be a couple days for me to respond at times. Like, yeah, I don't take it personal at all. Everybody has lives and work and everything else balancing acts. So yeah.
I think Jamie brought up something a lot of people were not really hip to, and I think about doing better. Kickoff meetings is a unique time when you do a kickoff meeting. I've seen some of them be real friendly, and I've seen some people want a fist fight, right? So talking about the scope of work. Long story short, the IRS says some of our systems were in the scope of work, and my boss goes, "That is bullshit." I was like, "Oh, we about to get personal."
He's like, what? Right now?
Why is that important? Is that
Let me
file
get my
that
key
hit that
ready.
network,
Yeah.
and if it comes in scope, we didn't harden it, so we're gonna have another 10,000 findings.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
What's the
that's
scope
just-
of work? What's the scope
Right
of
when I
work?
thought
So,
that paper was 1 page or 5 pages now. Jeez.
Yes.
True story. I got to tell a quick story, Chris. I went over our developers. I went through our scope of work, our boundaries. Everybody agreed. The kickoff meeting, the Booz Allen started talking to this one programmer. She was a little older. She started adding like new components, and my boss is looking at me. I'm like, "You were in the room when I was talking to her. I don't know where she coming up with this extra stuff from." So you got to have everybody on the same page. So that's my story. It didn't go well for PBO because then we had an extra 500 findings for devices we didn't know were in scope.
Bam.
Someone had mentioned something. Let me find it. I had it and then it zipped off somewhere real quick. Oh, save DV. 1930-50.
Oh shit. Rolling 1930.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
There's so much that falls out of GRC risk management. Ethics and compliance programs, one being HR compliance, sexual harassment training for management, lunch breaks, OT, etc.
Facts.
Yeah, and I think that's something where, you know, individuals like PBO and a lot of practitioners, they get set into their program, or they even have a title of GRC. But that's one of the interesting things that I find about GRC is that 2017 is when it started becoming popularized, roughly, and it's supposed to unite those three different departments of risk management, governance, and compliance. Risk management's been around for thousands of years, so has compliance and governance as well, but in separate entities.
True.
And so that's where GRC becomes a huge benefit as an organizational-wide program, which encompasses a lot of different things. Like earlier today during the cloud presentation, I had mentioned the GRC by design, running off of that secure by design, because it's the exact same concept of planning that out ahead of time and getting ahead of the curve rather than bolting it on afterwards. And you know, there are so many different things that follow underneath GRC. Like when I first started going down the rabbit hole for GRC, you could look back in the chat in Simply Cyber, because I was asking people, I'm like, wait, does that mean that occupational safety, like this was over a year ago? I'm like, wouldn't that follow underneath it? And like somebody was, a practitioner was like, I don't know, maybe. Like it could. Like, and that's where a lot of this stuff comes in.
Well, and
So look at the
go ahead, James.
look at or pull up the next comment by Josh EC right on top of that one, Chris, please.
On top of the
1930-52.
following. Yep. that
Yes, this one. So our internal audit team would maintain their own risk register. This is where this sort of thing would have fallen. It's different all over though. Depends on the organization. So go ahead, PBO.
No, I cut you. You were still
I
going.
wonder if you're going to say what I'm going to say, but go ahead.
Oh, you sure? No, go ahead and finish. You were missed out.
Sir, I am okay with you going. Beauty
Okay.
before age.
And I think what Chris says though is, which not attacking him, is Chris act like we start new companies, man. You know how much technical debt is out there? Ain't nobody starting compliance from design, man. Most people, and two is, and Space Thompson gonna know this. Most people doing GRC has a requirement: be PCI, FedRAMP. They just don't start GRC out the goodness of their heart, man. They have money they're trying to get. So you make it sound like, oh, we start from the ground up and we doing this pretty thing. We making sausage out here, young man. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple things there though, because I'm in it for the long run. Because I mean, yeah, it's not going to be something, but it may be something in 15 years. Think about secure by design. How long did it take for that to become a thing? People thought that they were crazy when they were like, "Oh, we should think about security right now."
Are you crazy?
The sad part about it is it's getting a little better because there's frameworks. Most guys that start like Facebook, they storing that shit in their dorm room. They're not doing secure by design. He was a sophomore when he did Facebook.
Google in a garage.
Yeah, at least he was a PhD. You talking about designs that senior people have. Most of these big companies, there's 3 dudes in their dorm room trying to get dates. And they spinning up companies, man. They're not talking about secure by design. They trying to get VC funding. They don't do security and compliance till they're made to. They're trying to do class features and they're trying to get that shit done, man. This is real life, man. This is sausage. Go ahead.
I had another thought about what they're trying to get, but I'll keep that to myself.
We're gonna need to get Space Taco sign. We're gonna need to get Space Taco. Space Taco.
Yeah, I'm typing up the disclaimer right now.
Okay. That's cool. That's all I had to say.
Oh, okay. So on this though, here I wanted to share because these 2 comments here made me think. For those of you, if you're the people who are already in a company and you are trying to pivot into GRC, and some of you have been given that advice was like, look within your home base first and see if there's a way to do it, which I think is a very valid point. These 2 comments right here kind of highlight what I believe can be helpful when trying to make that argument or that business case for having a GRC, for needing it, is so that you can. These are why we have it, because right now everything's all over the place, right. And we need to get all that encompassed into one group. We need to have one group who's looking at all that, asking the right questions, making sure they're holding people accountable. Because as a company, it goes back to all the security regular stuff. But to have this conversation with someone, maybe it's your leader, maybe it's the person who wants to do this and they just need more buy-in. Maybe it's that 15-20% extra in your job that you have that's available for growth and development, that you're like, this is how I'd like to do this. I'm learning this and I'm seeing this. And I know that we here in the CSR area, I know that we have our policies and procedures here, but they're not really centralized, or they're not really, there for everybody everywhere. And so I'm saying to use this information as a way to make your argument for why you should be the person to be in that situation. Don't ever frame it as you should do this. Frame it as though you're the answer to the problem that you're doing. Okay. That's my advice, at least.
Jamie, I got a question for you. You've been in the game long enough. You try to do that. A lot of time management was like, we don't have time. We need to focus on X. I see more pushback than I see trying to get it. What's your thought? I mean, you and Space Tacos be out. I see more pushback than people talking about, like, Chris, we're going to hug and do GRC today.
You're right. PBO, I mean,
come on, man.
Here's the thing with that. Guys, you're going to have some tough skin, and you're going to have to be willing to hear no many, many more times. But there is going to be a small sliver, a percentage of people or that person who is going to hear that and who is going to be willing to take a chance on you. So if you don't have that thick skin and you really don't want to get into it and put yourself in that position, don't. But for those of you that are willing to be annoying to a level, you're going to eventually find someone who's willing to invest in you, who the stars have aligned properly. And I'll even say, like, let's say 80-20. You'll hear no 80% of the time. You'll hear what PBO just mentioned 80% of the time. Mm-hmm. But there is a 20% chance out there that 1-2 people out of 10 people or 100 people or whatever is going to hear you and be willing to invest in you or offer you up for that situation. Right. So you're not putting yourself any worse in a situation by saying something than when you don't. That's my advice in that area.
The key part in there, and I think Jamie said it is, and people always say, why am I always talking about NIST, CMC? Because the government is forcing them to do it. So then, like Jamie said, I am the solution to your problem, because I'm a NIST I'm a PCI SME, I'm a CMMC SME, and shout out to Chris. I'm an ISO SME. I'm trying to get into ISO now. They trying to push me to ISO. I'm starting to like them. So that's kind of what I see is it's more of a requirement. I just don't see companies like we're gonna do GRC today and we're happy and we're gonna take all these findings and pay people to do it. And a lot of times too is, and I'm sure Space Taco sees this, when you take findings to a CTO, you tell him his baby's ugly now.
Yes, basically.
So now he ain't happy to see you.
They don't like it. In fact,
PBO,
that's one thing in my department. My director and I seem to be on the same page of, I'm sorry, but your baby's just a little ugly. So here's a really good way to fix it. But from the department heads in our agency, they've come down to our auditor general and said, look, y'all ain't gonna tell me that my baby's ugly. I ain't about to hear it. So we've had to soften our language and say, so your baby is nice and young and healthy, and here's a few ways that we can help your baby be a little bit better.
You heard this on YouTube. F them babies. No, I'm just playing. F them babies. No, I'm just playing. But no,
well, I don't mind that. But we had to do the thing because
so tell Chris
all up in their feelings.
Oh, I've almost got a fist fight with CTOs. I had somebody say, we've been doing this for 20 years. And yeah, you've been doing it wrong for 20 years now.
Well, and so that's what like PBO mentioned before that I really liked is the fact of like PBO talked about before about how like the first few years that he was in industry, he was way more personal about it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a common pitfall is when you get emotionally involved in your role.
Facts. I took it personal.
You just run off the data and, leave it to the shareholders. Like,
no, but the problem is the CTOs above you. So if you're a CIO, don't want to go war with those guys, because you got to remember the CTOs are making the company money. Those are the products that people buying. You're adding costs to the system when you talk about security and hardening and PCI. That's money. You're not making money. You spending money.
Yeah.
I gotta get out my soapbox. Tristan got me fired up. I'm gonna have to go get a pop to calm down.
But now, are we gonna talk about trust compliance?
Oh no.
Yeah, let me respond. Oh yeah, facts on the trust. For me, I don't know. Every big company now has their trust center that has their 40 documents on it. But a lot of times, shout out to my man that left. They just generating that shit off of AI. When you read half of it, don't make sense.
No.
So I'm in there arguing like, what does this mean in real life? I mean, that's cute, but what does that mean from a MFA standpoint? Fits 142-3 endpoint point. That sounded cool when I read it. See, now I got to start thunder punching people. Go ahead, Jamie. I'm on my soapbox, man. I got a kiss done. Got me wound up in here, man.
Good job, Chris.
I'm old and black, man. My blood pressure going up. I got my blood pressure going up in here. I gotta settle down. Go ahead, Jamie.
No. You don't know. No, I'm kind of lost right now. So not your fault. Like
enjoying the show.
It's fun. It's great. I appreciate the openness in the conversation. Look, to be honest, like all the topics that come up.
That
was
a
horrible.
He done locked up.
Cut out.
Oh no! Come back.
That was not me.
I done got Jamie wound up. His tech to just shut down. There's so much fire up in here. But no, I think Chris has a good point. I just kind of throwing that little real world, man, because I've been in meetings and it's like, yeah, GRC, y'all a bunch of crap. Yeah, y'all bringing me bad advice.
Did you have something to add there to save DRV?
Locked up.
Oh no! Come back.
Yeah, can you guys hear it?
Yes,
there's some feedback coming through though.
You got feedback, Save. You got to cut your other.
You got to turn your YouTube off.
Sorry. I thought I did.
No worries.
Try it again.
But yeah, I like that this is a different side that helps people see more of the other stuff that's behind GRC, right? It's not just the, once you get to that finish line, you're like, oh, it's going to be grand and stuff. And it's like, there's still stuff, just like in every job. There's still some battles.
There's still a lot of stuff.
Fine. You got to pick your battles. Go ahead, Save, DR.
No, I was just going to hit on what Chris was saying. If anything, also look into compliance and ethics programs for your own personal protection. Just going back to the HR element, especially in IT, right? Because we have a tendency to work 24/7. And it's just normal to us. But there's certain, HR labor laws that actually protect you from working 24/7 and not receiving OT. I know I had to go through this from a compliance perspective. We had a really good guy in HR that was trying to avoid any labor lawsuits and misclassification lawsuits. So he actually went through the process as far as reviewing everyone's job description, making sure they're classified. If we had management titles but didn't allow them to make certain decisions, that was a case for a lawsuit for them to sue us and potentially, come back at the company and say, you guys aren't paying me money, but you're asking me to do managerial type tasks. So all that stuff, you guys gotta, just be aware from your own personal protection. I know I had to go through OSHA training just because we worked in large arenas and we're constantly around forklifts and whatnot. But there's things like that you should be aware of, and partner with the risk management team. Usually those are the guys that have kind of that umbrella coverage. GRC is a small piece of that, and sometimes you're going to find that you're the one that has to bring this to the forefront. Most companies like PBO was saying, they're just too busy. But that's to me a sad thing, because as professionals, especially in leadership, they should be aware as far as what regulatory requirements fall on them. Just like we know we have to follow NIST if we're working for federal government companies, so on and so on. So do your homework. That's all I'd say.
Bregsy's making a Brexit.
Man, homework.
That's an excellent point. And
what is that? Save DRV, save drive. Got it. You know what? So here's the part when you mentioned something and then it sparked off a thought for me, was like, this is why when you work in an organization that has their annual review or employee review times or whatever that is for you, you have to put stuff like this in that. If you're really wanting to transition stuff, you put that information in there, because some companies have it where they're required to make sure that they're what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they're enriching their employees and they're measured against that, and there's metrics that count. And so there's actual real world push on, did you help your employee meet their company goals or something?
Right.
Now, I know not every organization has that, and they may tell you to and this is where I get in trouble in corporate America, guys, is when they're like, for example, one of the things they always told us is like, here's your employee evaluation, 1 through 5. No one ever gets a 5, so don't ever score yourself a 5. And I'd be like, excuse me? And I'd be like, let me read this. And I'd read the definition of it, and I'd be like, oh, I'm a 5.
But I
don't need you to define for me before I do. I'm a 5. Now, I will say I'm not a 5 in everything, but I'm going to own my 5s, and I'm not giving you power over me before I even look at this. That's just my take. I'm not telling you to do that, but if I know my value more than you care to know my value, that's a different thing. I'm going to put what I do. So, but what that does is when we were measured on that, I could always say my management supported the goals and directions that I wanted to go into. And if they didn't, then they got a 1.
Damn.
So I think you have, when you're wanting that transition and you're wanting to make those pivots, you have to use what am I trying to say? You have to use the company politic. No, that's not right. System. You have to use the company system to work for you. So,
and Jamie's 100%. I'm real bad about this because I know the game. Because people don't realize is your department gets a certain percentage. If you get even if you're excellent, they can't give you excellent because there's only so much money in the budget. So if they give you 10, somebody else got to get 2, right? So I know what that is in real life. So I'm like, whatever the system. Just give me my 3 or 4%, then we could talk about, or I'm gonna leave, right? So I think Jamie's doing the right thing. PBL's just tired, part of the system. I know what it is. I know what the amount was given to the department and how they divvy it up.
Yep.
I think the worst thing you do, in my opinion, is you put yourself in a situation or a position where you are putting the company over yourself.
Yep.
Anything that you personally feel where you're defining the actions that you're taking in anything, and you're putting the company above yourself. Now, I'm not saying be a Snowden and take stuff that's illegal. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to your personal life, your personal development, your personal work, those things. I am in the field where it's like, don't put the company before yourself. They're not going to put you before them. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. So treat it as that. You be respectful where you need to be respectful, but don't ever put the company above your needs.
And I'm bad about doing that because for me, and I shouldn't do that. For me,
At least you're honest.
My job is kind of how I define myself in a certain way. And I understand the grind that my parents went through. So for me, it's just part of this. I'm getting this money. I'm gonna sell my soul, but PBO makes good money. He's good steak. So I know what I'm signing up for, right? I'm a big boy, right? So I know what I'm getting into. But you're right. I should have probably took a little more vacations to look more time. But I traded.
You probably still would have made that same money in PBO.
Nah,
and still been able to take your vacation.
The cool thing DOD did that people were body shopping is when I went to DOD, consulting companies were robbing people because you were salary, you would work overtime, they would build a client and wouldn't pay you overtime. So DOD figured that out and like everybody, if you at a certain level, like say
mandatory overtime,
you would get overtime if you worked. Now it wouldn't be double time, but it was straight time. PBO was coming up sun in and sun down, but he was getting paid for it, right? But too, I was supporting some family members. I grew up in the dirt, so for me, that was an easy trade. So, but I hear what you're saying though, Jamie. I do what you're saying though.
Yeah, I mean, so we are approaching this. Yeah, real quick, we are approaching this 2-hour mark, so we could keep going for a few more minutes here. I just want to let everybody know. So just out of nowhere, I decided to go through and do this giveaway for our new merch shop that we have. So you just drop GRC in capital letters on YouTube chat to enter it. I'm going to have the screen up again for the people who entered. You could either pick either the pins that we have. I think these are like 2.5 inch or something like that, which I think are pretty neat, or a t-shirt. You just have to be US based, I believe is going to be the only requirement there. But just as an added bonus for this stream in particular. I'll drop a link to this in chat and then just GRC in capital letters on YouTube's side.
But no, Jamie, you're right. But two is, especially with the layoffs, I don't think people are getting compensated at that level of value. Right.
Definitely.
So I think
especially when you have to leave a job or when you have to get another job at a different company to make a significant raise.
And that's one thing I think I stayed too long at a lot of companies. I liked them. I did move around, but I stayed at DOD for 11. I think that was a little too long. And I stayed at the state for 10, which as a consultant, you usually don't get a 10-year run. So I was getting kind of comfortable.
Yeah, those consultants, yeah. When you're there for longer than like 3 years as a consultant, it's like, wait a minute. When that trimming comes and you're like, God darn it, I hate it.
The cool thing though, it was a trim. I actually made it to the last 3 and they actually offered me a job. They just, the state just doesn't pay well. And even the Fed compared to private, but me and Space Taco, I might should have took it. I could have had a pension, but when you're young, right? you don't think about pensions till you 58. I was like, I probably should have took that 10 and got that pension. But
now I'm like hustling for my side gig to be like, I need to put some extra in somewhere. But, you do what you need to do for you, really, honestly.
Oh, facts.
But one of the things I see so detrimental to this, actually, so the average the average job holding in IT was about 2 years for a long time there. I think it's still about 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Right? Yep, it's low.
2, 3, something like that. So my push here isn't say that if you've been with a company for longer than 3 years, you need to leave. That's not what I'm saying exactly. But what I am saying is know your worth. And if you're not getting that rate, look, they're going to hire someone else. Statistically speaking, that person is going to make more than you are.
Facts.
And if they're not going to pay you that, if they're going to give you a 30-cent raise, you need to know your value and you need to be confident in like, man, now you don't need to go overboard and be like, look, you owe me the kitchen sink. That's not what I'm saying. That's part of the knowing your value part. If you know the value you bring and what you should be making, don't feel like the company you're with is going to be the one to do that for you, even if you love the job. Now, if you love the job, knowing you're not getting the pay that you deserve, then your decision, you stay there. Fine. That's okay.
That's a bad decision. Go ahead, James.
And I'm probably going to butcher the name a little bit, but Carla was a presenter for us, and you could look back. And so she talked about roadmaps and so forth, and kind of touched on that a little bit as well. on like what are your goals and figuring out your roadmap and strategy and so forth.
Did you have that PBO? Do you feel like when you were working through and you two tacos and save drives, this isn't just whatever, but did you feel like you had a good roadmap when you were starting off and so you kind of knew more or less where you were wanting to go? Or did you feel like you were just kind of just riding the nice paycheck until?
No, I kind of had a roadmap, but I started off as a programmer, so I want to be a programmer, system analyst. And for me, back then, DBAs was making $70,000. If I could just be a DBA, that'll be life changing. So, but then the technology changed. Once I got DBA, there was like cloud, and there was GRC, but then it was like programmer, analyst, DBA type thing. So that was kind of the progression. But the other thing, real quick, and just to add this in there, back then though, if you got a skill, like I did Oracle, I could make a living on that for 10 years. Technology changes so quick. I think you got to learn something to make it last, right? Because right now I'm thinking I'm gonna do cloud for another 10 years. I'm like, shit, I might need to learn something. I'm like to be in quantum computers after a minute, but
quantum and blockchain.
Yeah,
and also like what some other people mentioned too is like the big four. Go consult for one of the big four for a year or two, and then go to the stateside or move around or something. That's what a lot of other people will recommend as well.
That's my favorite recommendation to, especially if you're young. Go suffer. Go suffer in that big four. Go suffer.
Really, it's the same. I remember in the insurance industry, they would be like all the directors, all these senior directors that had one thing in common. They had all taken a stint in the not the customer service, but claims department. And especially in those claims where it took them away from their home states for at least a year. And then they came back home and all of a sudden it was like fast track to executives. And
nice.
Like, good Lord. I don't know that's that same road. I mean, I don't know that in GRC, that same exact map or road exists. But I will say if you're in an organization and you do find you want to get yourself there, if you're in an insurance industry, if you take that year off to go do those claims work in another state during the catastrophes, fires, floods, and hurricanes and all that stuff, and then come back, it will put you in a fast track to be, from what I've seen, to go anywhere within that company.
Nice.
GRC, I think, is that big four, big consulting type job where you're going to work 12 hours a day and fly to big clients, and you're going to suffer. And when I was talking to the Booz Allen guys, they were doing like 3 assessments at the time. They were closing one, they were getting deposits and pre-season starting one, and they were doing on-site at the same time. So they would go to the hotel and they'd be working another 5 or 6 hours.
Wow.
Chef, make sure to reach out to me. I would love to help you prep for that role. If there's anything I can do, if you feel like I can help, please reach out. Congratulations, first off. Way to go.
Good luck
out there. And yeah, let's do some mock interview or whatever, if you feel like I can help out.
That's dope.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I wanted your guys' take here. Is that alluring?
Papaya?
Papaya? Okay.
Papaya.
I thought I was like seeing stuff or something.
Or
I just wanted to confirm.
Jaime, to answer your question, I'm new to GRC. I'm new to cybersecurity. I'm new to IT. When I was working as a teacher, my only plan was not to become one of the heartless, dead-eyed members of the admin team or the district admin team, because once you got into principal and vice principal, it's like they forgot all about what it was like in the classroom. And that was my only plan as a teacher. And then when I became a medical coder, because my favorite thing in life is apparently to choose a new career, my main goal in medical coding was to actually join the coding compliance team.
Okay.
So I have worked with a career plan before, but now that I'm in GRC, I'm still kind of not tap dancing around. I'm just trying to figure out what I like the best. Right now, I'm still in love with audit like a lunatic, but it makes me happy for now. So I don't know if I'll pivot to PCI. I don't know if I'll pivot to risk or privacy or.
Come to NIST. Like we come to the altar. Come to NIST. Come to NIST. Come to NIST.
Come to the dark side.
I can go to NIST. I can do all the things. I just, at this point, I'm still in love with audit and I want to get good at that. And I'm actually coming up to my 2-year mark here at this job that I've got now that I love. I love my job. I love my team. I just wish I liked I don't like where I live. So
come to NIST. We all over. Come to
I know. I'm trying to figure out what's going to move me.
I'm sorry, Space Tacos. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I'm looking to get into the DMV region of the planet.
Oh, NIST. That's all.
I know.
Come to NIST.
I know. I would actually like to move back.
There's even going to be a 53 course.
Say what?
There's even going to be a 53 course for you.
Man. Come on. We're going to give a giveaway.
I'm waiting for it.
I ain't telling our people, we got your Space Tacos. I think Dr. O's going to give a couple away free. We'll slide behind on the black chat. We get you one.
Thanks, bro.
We'll make it happen.
Yay.
Shout out to the 53 and the Study GRC family. We're gonna make
I'm about that life.
Chef, good luck. Chef said he's got an interview with a big Fortune 100 company.
Nice.
I worked at a Fortune 50 company. Booyah! I'm just playing.
Now go check him out, Chef. He's a good guy, man. The more interviews you have, so it won't hurt. Go check out my man Jaime. Go check him out.
Yes, I'll be happy.
Make that happen.
And you know, Space Tacos, you were saying, what did you say about?
I said a lot of stuff.
2 years. You said you were there for 2 years.
I'm almost 2 years old at this job. Yes.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And will they offer you a remote position if you wanted to move? If you told them that you had a?
It's a state entity, and they don't believe in the remote, which is fine. I don't mind it, but it does put me in the mindset of, man, this is a pretty good gig because I really kind of love my health insurance.
Look, I'm gonna tell you this.
Half of my medications are free, so it's really nice.
Tell me if this is wrong. Is it still so? Last year, job hunting last year was an absolute nightmare.
Yes.
Worst job hunting time of my life.
Yeah.
I was the longest without having a job that I've ever had in my entire life, and it was scary. It was freaky, guys, and I was struggling. I was just like. On top of everything else happening in the backdrop of the world, not having a job regularly. And then I know I'm a good candidate. I know I'm a great guy. And I'm not trying to be, like whatever, but
that's what they all say.
It was just crazy. It was just.
It's still crazy.
And the stat was 200 applications equals one job interview or one job offer.
Yes.
And I can say yes.
And two, when I was looking.
I feel you.
So real quick, I'm going to pull this winner.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll do that real fast, and then we can keep going a little bit. So we have 13 different entries. I've thrown it in chat quite a bit. So Apple in the A is the first draw there. So just reach out to me on Discord or LinkedIn. So bam, I'm going to leave this up just in case. So if I don't get a response in the next 10 minutes or so, we'll probably draw it back up.
Wow, that's quick, man. But like Jamie,
it's a live stream.
Yeah, but like Jamie said, when I was looking, it was brutal out there too. As I think, and which I'm not mad about. I was getting ageism when I took 10 years off from my resume. My callbacks went up exponentially. So I just think it's a brutal job market, and being a senior, I don't think it's a good thing because. Bro,
oh my gosh, yes, that scared me. Crazy, like I was like, ageism is real. Oh my god!
Which like I said, I people think I'm weird. I did an ageism video, and I say people on ageism. I'm at a certain age. I ask for a certain amount of money, so I need to bring a certain amount of value, right? I don't know what Chris makes, but you might be able to get 2 Chris's for a PBO, right? And PBO ain't working 12 hours on Mountain Dew anymore. He's old and grumpy. He's not doing that. No more.
I already threw away the monster cans, but
so, facts. So PBO ain't doing that, so I understand, but. Like you said, I was surprised how, because usually I could just, and the crazy thing is, we talked about that. All the stuff I customized my resume for, I got no callbacks. The ones I quick apply for, those are the ones I got callbacks on. So I'm kind of jaded in that area. So I don't know. It's brutal though. It's brutal.
It is. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. But yeah, it's just brutal. And I think now, they're cutting deep in the Fed. So there's gonna be a lot of talent out on the streets for a minute too. So I'm at least said till 2026. It's gonna take them a while to go through that pool of people that they're adding to the market, and that's pushing down salaries too. And remote work is disappearing.
Yep.
I'm hoping that I can. So one of the things on my roadmap, my personal roadmap, is I got a really nice job, very nice job. I only had to make concessions for two main things. One of them wasn't a big one. The other one was a complete. I didn't get it all, which was fine. I'd wanted my own team, right? I wanted a team. I feel like I do well when I'm in that situation. And again, not to be conceited. It's just I do well when I can help others out. And I wanted to help the community. I thought, man, there's enough of us out here who are also wanting. If I can help out some of my brothers and sisters out here,
Right.
I want to be in a position to do that. So that was the reason for that. But now that I know it's not there, I am looking down the road to hopefully introduce what were we talking about it earlier? Jesus, Lord, help me with my mind. That video is messing me up.
Yeah, through you. Talk about having your own team.
Yeah, but letting people come, they won't get paid internship. I do plan on trying to see if I can, get people to sign off on. Let's do some internships and bring people on. We'll see. It's been over.
Yeah.
Keep grinding, Jeffrey Johnson. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
I've been through 3 recessions because I'm old. It's not your fault. It is what it is. You just got to keep grinding, man. It's not nice out here, man. It's not nice out here.
It's not.
Yeah.
And it ended up, and I will tell you guys, actions that I took 2 years ago is what landed me my role. So It wasn't even anything I did this year that helped me. It was the branding that I was creating for myself 2 years ago is what landed me the role today. So,
yep, don't give up. It's gonna be hard, and it's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to do some stuff you don't want to do. I saw someone asking in the Discord the other day, Chris, PB. I don't know if you saw it too. Was that they said, something about the gap in their resume, right? Remember that they were saying,
they were self-employed or something like that.
Yeah, and they were like, should I put that in there, or should I put it in the executive summary, or something like that, right? And so I had some advice of my own, but then I was looking around. I asked someone, a recruiter somewhere, and a couple of recruiters had responded back, and they were saying like, look, it's always a good idea to fill in that gap with the information so that they know that you're active and doing something. And your cover letter, which I know is not a very popular thing these days, they say you can expand on that in your cover letter. I would say on top of that, for me, one of the things that helped me out though, PBO, so even though I didn't land a job from my efforts this past year, towards the later part of the year, I changed up how I was doing my resume. And when I did that, I did start landing a lot more interviews, a lot.
Yeah.
And I utilized AI for that. Okay. And I won't go into detail about it, but if you ask me privately, I will share. And I don't mind sharing publicly. I wanted to help you guys. Just don't have the time for it right now, I believe. But I did my LLM had a way of helping me tailor my resumes to the job specifically in a very specific way. And then the way that I had asked it to do was to list the jobs that I previously held, whichever ones seemed to align closest to the current job description, put those at the top, and only list 3 jobs. My 3 employments, even though I have more. And so when I was sending that application or that resume out to people were calling and asking questions. Now a lot of times people were like, "So I see this the weirdness, the time, your job experience is kind of a little all over the place." And I'm like, "Oh, I actually have a full resume that I can give you if you're interested." And I would give it to them during the interview. But those things, for whatever reason, people were calling more often and being like, "We'd like to interview you."
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I gotta think about that. But shout out to Study GRC. My resume was from 1995. They helped me, get it into
15 pages long
to the 2000s. So it's a lot. It's a lot better.
It's alive. It's alive.
Yeah, that whole interview process, and especially remote, it'd be like 300 people applied.
Jeez.
The cool thing, which wasn't cool, they'd be like, "Oh, you made it to the last 3. That's cool, but I still didn't get the job." So it's cool, but it's just a brutal time. And 2 is, I guess I'm old enough where I didn't take it personal. I think a lot of people get down on it. A lot of time it's timing and it's your time. So when I get ding letters, but 2, I'm 5'7" and fat, so I hear no a lot in life, so. But once again, keep grinding, don't give up, and like Tommy say, work on your craft and study. Once again, I'm working on my AWS certs, and Chris be grilling me with AWS questions. So just stay in the mix. Don't get too discouraged. And it's not you; it's just the job market.
So Chef, yeah, I actually, so this is my 5th week with this company. It's a cable company out of Arizona, and it's specifically a PCI role. I'll once they're gonna sponsor me for ISA, so I'll be their ISA.
That's cool. Congrats.
Wow, nice.
I know. I was so here's a cool thing. I worked that during the negotiations. I asked, I was like, I'm interested in getting my ISA certification. Will you sponsor me to do that? That was part of the negotiating with it. And if you don't ask, the answer is going to be no, right?
Facts. So, every single time.
Absolutely. But yeah, it worked out.
I usually have the opposite problem. A lot of times I don't want people to pay for certs because then they want you to stay for 2 or 3 years. I'm like, dude, I'm just passing through, homie. I ain't gonna be here that long.
Fair enough.
Space Tacos, you mentioned cybersecurity GRC conferences. Are there any particular GRC ones that you want to shout out?
B-side.
Well, I shout out B-sides, but I told y'all my memory sucks, man. I'm 100,000 years old.
I'm right there curious. I only know of one outside of like ISACA that is straight GRC, other than RSA, which is pretty hard on that as well.
And it's called?
GRC Gron, I think is what it's called. It's in Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a small group and so forth. I'm probably just going to like show up randomly. I think it's in September.
You should do that and then put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Space Talk. Sorry.
No, I just said you should do that and put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
But my resume was pretty big. I had some stuff from 1992 on it. So
sir.
Yeah.
So you gotta remember,
guys, you can go to LinkedIn. This is what I do. I like to go to LinkedIn, and from time to time, I'll type in search. I'll type in webinar or PCI webinar, and then it'll bring up a list of available webinars and conventions even to attend. And I'll usually do that on LinkedIn often. LinkedIn's still good for that. I was going to say earlier, LinkedIn is not a good place for job hunting, in my opinion. It is horrible. There's a 50% dead link rate, meaning that 50% of the jobs are dead. They're not real. They're not alive anymore, active. And so stay away
what
from
you recommend?
Get that figure of 30%.
What you recommend? What you recommend if you?
So places like Dice. There's some on my Discord. There's a few sites that we have on there, and I just can't remember them right now. But they're like, I think Remote Jobs is one of them, or remote.com or something like that.
Okay.
I'll find them and post them in the GRC site. But yeah, Indeed and LinkedIn, not good recommended sites to look for jobs anymore.
Those my two favorite. I got tied it up.
Indeed's one of my favorite, but then I let it take me. I go to the company website once I get off Indeed.
I hate going to the company website.
I do too, because it's like, well, you need to sign up and make your own account. And I get sick of doing that crap.
If I do that, that job's got to be tailored for me. Like, oh, I'm gonna have a high problem. If it's just something, I'm like, nah, I ain't doing that.
No, I do too. I do still sort of cheat on LinkedIn and pull only the most recent, like I was only posted in the last hour jobs. I do that.
Oh, I go 3 days. I thought I was.
No, I do 1 hour.
Oh no, I ain't on it that much. That means I have to be out there. So
yeah, but it's easier to it's nicer to get the fresh instead of I've been sitting on the list for a couple 100,000 years.
They got the new tab now. It knows the last time you logged in now, so it only shows what's new out there that you.
What is it?
Indeed.
Oh, okay.
They got they got some new tab out there.
Like I cheat on LinkedIn. I don't cheat on Indeed. I know the LinkedIn cheat code.
I'm about to get that from you. I'm old school in it.
All right. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry, bro.
If I'm out here nodding, Chris done wore me out.
There's your homework. Yeah. Last time you got the KPIs and so forth. Now
I did the KPIs. They're up.
Yeah. Little by little.
Piece by piece.
Yeah. So I found the Twitter page for them, but I don't even know if they have their website. I know that they had it ongoing last year. And then like in regards to the job platforms, I've heard really good things about Dice. Like 10 years ago, all I used was Indeed actually.
Well, I
So-
used Dice 10 years ago. I thought Indeed was new compared. Dice been out before Indeed, so
I
Dice-
feel like Indeed went down in the last 10 years, personally, but
you think Dice is better? I might have to get back on Dice.
I've heard really, really good things about it.
Here's my experience on Dice is once I set myself up and got an account and put my resume out there, I got more spam than I didn't know what to do with.
Oh gosh,
Okay, so
that sounds like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I think LinkedIn's pretty. Do I get a lot of spam? I don't think I get a lot of spam.
I got spam from Dice like I used to from people who are like, oh, monster.com. I'm like, I'm not going back to Monster.
I've given up on Monster. But
Monster, I got more spam from Monster.
I do. The
Yeah,
cool
one of
thing,
my biggest issues with LinkedIn is I get all of this in mail or whatever it's called from recruiters.
Yeah.
And what it is that there's a job local that's, an hour and a half drive from me. And I have 6 or 7 different recruiting firms who are trying to fill that role.
Yeah.
And so then I just get spammed all at one time, like within a couple hours. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be a system admin, bud.
I got 100% remote, so I don't get from those guys. The cool thing though is I do get reached out from hybrid in my state. So I was like, worst case, I can always go into the office, I think, and find a job. As my plan Z if something happened.
Plan Z.
If I needed a plan Z, so but
I'll post I have a list of not typical web job search engines. I think I have them up on my Discord actually, but I'll go back and double check. Because I use places like Cybercoders and GDIT.com. And I'm actually a fan of if you get a good recruiter, like a personal recruiter, not like an agency, but if you get a good person who's like working with you as you guys are like working as a team, I'm a huge fan of not like a big industry, like a big company, but a small, almost like a small boutique, kind of a small recruiting agency. If you can find one of those, that's awesome.
I've got
I
two.
recommend those.
Yeah, I got 2 in my state, so they got big connections. So no, you're right too, and they know what to send me. They kind of know my salary range, so I don't.
Yeah.
If they send me some, it's pretty. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it. Go ahead, Jaime.
No, so I'm not saying interviews aren't going to happen. Again, 50% on LinkedIn. That's too high of working time for me when I could be getting 100% of my resumes looked at wherever I send them. Does it make sense? Kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess my only pushback. I mean, Chris had it. I give it the level of attention it needs. So if I got 2%, I'm just gonna quick apply. I'm not trying to tailor. I'm just gonna hit it with the button.
Yeah, and that doesn't take anything.
Right. So
you're right on that.
Right. So I try to get, but the weird thing, and I think I said this before, all the stuff I try to custom, I never got that. The stuff I quick apply, those are the jobs I get. So I don't know if it's just me, or maybe I need to get with Chris, work on my resume some more. I don't know what's going on.
I think with LinkedIn, I think it's not super helpful anymore. But what I would suggest is if you see that job, we've talked about it a few times, Chris, right? I think if you do see that job available, go to their personal website and see if it is available on their website and apply for it from there instead.
That's too much work, Jaime. That's too much work.
It is. But look, here's what's happening is
I'm quick applying.
The internal recruiter for the company posted these jobs out. You ever wonder why some of these jobs are like, why they're going unfilled for hundreds of days and they have hundreds of applicants? It's because whatever the story is, the recruiter is no longer there. Their account still has the recruiter flag active, and they've made that job auto refill until it's filled. Well, if they're gone, the system is still auto refilling that job spot, but it got filled or canceled or whatever the story is.
Yeah.
And so you're wasting all that time, and you take that scenario for 50% of the jobs on LinkedIn.
That's why I do LinkedIn jobs that have only been posted in the last hour.
Yeah, I do 3 days, but I might switch. 2 is I'm real particular about what I'm going to apply. It's going to be NIST. It's usually going to be asked for 7 years or more. It's usually going to be an IRS component on it. It's really going to be kind of like that's a PBO thing, right? So
PBO is looking for that DPA 70K a year.
So one of these guys,
not 70K. I shouldn't say that. I sound elitist. I don't open my laptop for 70K, young man.
He's looking for 170K.
So there was a John Wansolting. I saw the videos that he's done it where he's taken the same jobs on LinkedIn and Indeed. He's applied to 100 of them using the same resume. The the same jobs, he's tailored individual resumes for all 100 jobs. In both the responses, it came back at 50% multiple times. Different 100 companies, different 100 companies, same scenario. And he shows them in the videos. He's like, these people, the same responses on both sides. Those are live jobs. And so his thought was, or his advice, insight, whatever you want to say, was 50% is just too high. I agree.
Well, and there's a couple things to break down here too. One of the big things I wanted to mention is, so there was a person a while ago who got scammed, filed out a W-2 and the whole 9 yards for a company, and then they were told, or what is it, an I-9 or W-9 or whatever it is. I-9. That's what it is. Yeah, too many taxes this time of year. But yeah, so they filled that out and everything else. Everything appeared to be legit. And then after they gave all of their information, including their social security number and photo ID, then they were told, oh, yeah, we need $4,000 from you to purchase company equipment. So we can send it to you.
Straight up scam.
And I literally
those
just
social
spoke to
security
somebody,
numbers, right? When they say, give us your social security number because we need to put it in the system so we don't overlap with, and you're like,
the problem is that it was completely, like, it seemed completely legit. So they got everything. I just spoke to another individual that is a cybersecurity senior that just got ripped off with the exact same tactic 2 days ago.
Yep.
And they have 10 years of experience in industry because everything lined up. They even had literally a compromised business email even.
Look, I'm not going to victim shame because I don't believe that. These people, they're professionals in this thing, and they do everything possible to trick you. And I mean, we only have so much energy to put up the fight against it sometimes, you know? A year, homeboy is 2 years without a job. If he's going to get an email or something like that, of course he's going to try for it because, you know, so these are predatory jerks out there, and they're making a living off of doing this professionally. It's not like you, so don't, you know, I'm not telling you guys up here and everything, but you are one of those people who fall for it. You're not an idiot. It's their job. And
they make it extremely believable. So I wanted to definitely position that off the bat because that seems to be becoming more and more common now. Like I heard, I met somebody like 8 months ago that it happened to, and then now it just happened a couple more days ago, which, you know, that's just within our community group. So I'm sure it's way more common. And that seems to be like the same thing. Somebody had sent something to me the other day with like job postings that were 100% chat GPT. And then it links that to a typo squatted domain. So, and they posted like 100 jobs on LinkedIn. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's a huge red flag. But yeah, you got to definitely be careful with that aspect. So, and then that also leads me into the conversation about networking too, because like you mentioned, the 50-50 thing, you know, networking, getting out there, talking to people, less competition in person. There's so many different variables, and that's what makes it so hard, especially when you need to get work and so forth, is it's not just, oh, I just have to do this. No, it's like 7 different things. Somebody just recently in Simply Cyber was like, man, I didn't realize that, you know, interviewing was a skill. And they're like, I just worked for 2 years to upskill, and now I got to work on interviewing.
Right. We were talking about that last week or the week before, Chris. We were saying how, you know, it's not just your skill, your technical skills you've got to up. You've got to up those soft skills, man. If you're not working on those soft skills, like when I offer to do a mock interview with you, and I'm not saying this is you, Chef, so it's not personal towards you, but I'm just saying in general, if someone offers you that's almost as golden as having the certificate, man. When someone who's willing to offer that and do that with you, take up the offer. I had one guy who didn't, and I was kind of like, okay. And it was so hard because I felt passionate about helping him in this, but he was like, okay, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I've got the interview this Friday, and I'm going to prep and do all the technical stuff. And I'm like, don't forget this piece, doing this whole rigmarole with them also. Then they call on Thursday night, and they want to do, or Wednesday night, and now they want to do. I'm like, so now you want me to put everything I want when I told you this in the beginning, but you made it seem like it wasn't important. I'm not telling you this because it helps me out. I'm preaching this because it is an absolute valuable skill. And if you don't have those soft skills, not just during the interview, but during the job, I've studied with people in programs who are quiet, and I'm like, you think I'm going to voice for you to join me anywhere? I'm sorry to say, it's not that I don't like you as a person, but you're quiet. You're a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
You sit in the background. I don't know anything about your work ethic or who you are, and that's those soft skills. That's all I'm gonna say. Soft skills, man. Soft
skills matter.
Yes. Work on it, guys. Work on it.
And presenting and making you, like you said, making yourself known. You gotta be. I got the opposite problem. I probably talk too much, but
you and me both.
But yeah, so but no, that's especially nowadays. In the old days, if you're quiet, you have to be a genius to be seen, right? Because your work really's got to shine, right? So there's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And two is a lot of times communication, right, up and down the chain. That a part of soft skills and knowing who you communicating with. It took me a while to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's a good point right there.
Yep.
When you're in a contract position, for example, look, this is my words. People, I don't know how you feel about it, but if you're in a contract position, you are not the same as the employees. You are less than.
100%.
You have this jaded view right now. It's like, once I get this contract, and I'm not saying don't go for contract positions. That's not what I'm saying. I've done contract positions. They have a time and place. Where I live is a contract economy. Mm-hmm. Lots of people are on contracts here. That's not what I'm saying. But for you to forget your place at any moment, even the less experienced, less skilled internal employee for the company is higher than your 10 plus years with a PhD.
Yeah, that's true. And you got to understand too, as a contractor, your job really is to get them up to speed so they can fire you, right? Usually you're a contractor. They're bringing you on because you bring in a certain level of expertise to train them or to get them over a hump. Now, I got lucky and ran for 10 years, but usually that's rare. So I'm coming in. I'm here to serve. My job is to train you up, to get you ready, really to take my spot. Mm-hmm. Right? That's why they're playing me EXO. And if you think you're a number as an employee, you definitely a high number when you're in a contract. Because usually you making more money and they trying to get you off the book. So like Jaime said, don't be confused. And I try to tell people, shout out to B2B. You're just a number, man. You're just a resource. When your resource is not resourcing, you're gonna be fired. It's nothing personal. Right? So don't get this I'm smart or I'm jaded or they can never
I deserve.
Oh yeah.
That's the one I hear a lot. I deserve.
Or I won't never be fired. You are incorrect, sir.
Or the people who falsely believe, and it's not your fault, but there are people who've been in it for a while and they think, oh, they're going to bring me on internally at some point. I'm like, oh gosh. Every time I hear that, I'm always like, where's my little,
and I know people who also got roped into, oh yeah, it's a 1099 contractor position, but we just need the job done. You can make your own hours and all of this other stuff. Until that paper gets signed.
Yeah. And I was, you got to be careful. I was 1099. I was making good money. I ended up owing the IRS 40 grand.
Man,
so it's right 1099. You got to understand they're paying part of your taxes. You got to pay that. PBO was going to Vegas, doing too much. I got my tax bill. I'm like, oh man, I'm vote Republican. Oh, my bad. I can't say that. I take that back. But now you got to be careful with that 1099. You got to know what you're signing up for.
I only ever did 1099 work once back when I used to coach volleyball. That messed me up for the whole tax year. I was pissed as hell.
Now you got to put it aside. You got to make sure you're making the amount of money that's going to cover your taxes. I think.
Yeah, but see, the thing is I didn't know that.
Facts. You come see PBO. I don't think I got a video on that though. Go ahead.
And they may dangle the two things I always see dangled in front is, we're going to bring you on and it's contract to hire position. They may hire you, and it's like, unless it's on paper, unless I'm signing something that says 6 months contract and then bring in direct hire on the 7th month moving forward, it's not real, guys. And I know you want to believe in it. We all wanted to believe in it at one time, but it's not real. So don't let them jade you to it. I know it feels like it. Well,
I would say that it's not guaranteed. Because I do know people too that did get hired on full time after a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
We would do it. We would do it because we wouldn't have the full budget. Mid-year, we'd have a project come up in June, and unless you bake in that salary ahead of time, you're not going to be able to hire that person because you don't have the headcount from a financial perspective. Right. So we tell them 6 months, do well, we'll convert you over. I would say my tip with that one is to negotiate your conversion rate. Have the conversation and go about it, but make sure you guys are squared on how much you want to be converted at, because that could be a nuance as well.
Yeah.
I would say, Chris, though, what is the ratio? Like, honestly.
Well, and I don't think it's fair to talk about ratio either. It's just like your example earlier, because everybody's experience is different with backgrounds and the local area as well. So especially if you're applying to local positions, those businesses are going to be different than on the other coast. And that's what makes it so difficult for the job hunt, is that everybody has a little bit of a different experience. Like I've heard people that, they put in 15 applications and got a good job off of LinkedIn, but then other people have horrible situations with it. And like my results on LinkedIn are horrible. Like I probably wouldn't even apply off of LinkedIn at all.
Wow.
But it's the same thing like with the contract position. Like, yeah, there are definitely going to be those negative aspects. I would definitely look for language though. Like get that on paper even. Like what are the requirements for me to go full time?
I think there's a history with companies like DoD. Their real contract to hire is real big for DoD because they want to test you out. And like say they usually have it in the budget. So they were pretty good about contract to hire. My thing is, and I think both of y'all just said it, when they brought you on, the number was a little lower than I was anticipating, because I think it was like a GS11 for a lot of people. So,
and also like you said before, too, PBO is like once you get into the DoD, then you're there. It's very hard to get them out.
The DoD is a little different because once you get your SF85P, you have a security clearance then, right? So that makes you a little more valuable because once they spend that money on the security clearance, your company gets you for 2 years, to pay off that security clearance. Then since you cleared and they test you out, then it's easier to hire you. Because my security clearance back then took like 8 months. It was crazy.
It takes forever.
Yeah, and I do also want to clarify, like, I'm just saying that it definitely is still a common practice. So I wouldn't guarantee it. Like, honestly, if I was on a 6-month contract, I'd probably start applying on that 5th month to other positions.
I'd start applying on the 2nd month. What you talking about?
Yeah. I wouldn't. This possible to extend right here, Chef. Yeah. So the thing with the possible to extend is it's also possible not to extend.
True.
Right?
Exactly.
And be real careful. I got tricked. I went for a big consulting company. They said, "Oh, we got a 5-year contract." Okay, we're good. I start talking to the head guy. I was like, "Yeah, I got a 5-year contract." He goes, "Yeah, but you on a 6 month on a 5-year contract." I'm like, "Shit, it's in 6 months." I got lucky; they got extended, but he should have told me that. Right? There's a risk that they might not extend the contract. They won't tell you that. So now I'm smart enough to know, like, when your contract up. Right.
So this is where there's a discipline I believe in and I try to preach about with recruiters. Now, I'm going to need some help on how to explain this. So bear with me for a moment. Okay. I put recruiters into 3 categories, folks. Okay. The bottom of this are going to be traditionally recruiters that don't sound like, can I say that? Traditionally, it's a little bit rushed also. It feels pressured almost. Those type of recruiters, I don't even waste time on them. I ask them 2 questions. How much is the pay rate and when do they need me to start? And if they can't answer that, then I'm like, okay, I'm just done. I'm not even going to entertain it. The second recruiters are a little bit more trustworthy. These recruiters are usually folks who are, for example, Randstad or Spherion Staffing. These are well-known places. They and those places, they usually are a little bit more legitimate, and they usually have the ear of the hiring manager. So they have a direct relationship with the hiring manager. If they have a direct relationship with the hiring manager, that's like silver to me. So the bottom is bronze, the middle one is silver. This person, they're usually there's like an increased rate that this position is real, and I could probably land something. They also usually take the time to talk with you. So they'll be the ones who will be like, hey, can we have a 15-minute where I can just get to know you and tell me what your plans are? Not always, but a lot of times. The gold or even diamond, what I say is this tier right here, these are the internal recruiters for the organization. So for example, let's just say Study GRC was the company. There's a Study GRC recruiter who's on staff, who they're not a contract. They get paid from Study GRC. They have the benefits, everything. And so they also have the ear of the hiring manager. So they can call Chris or PBO up and be like, hey, I've got this really good candidate I think you should talk to. That is usually the gold or the platinum, the high tier. So these two right here, I spend extra time with. This person, I don't spend any time with at all.
So
Robert,
do you have like a cheat sheet for this on a spreadsheet somewhere, like a real GRC nerd? Or
it would make
okay.
me, do you understand what I said on the third one? You know what it was?
And that's when you apply for jobs and looking for a job, or is that like you using an internal recruiter for one of your posts?
So my experience with recruiters is I don't get to use them. They're reaching out to me.
Facts.
Then we form a relationship. Now I will also say on those silver relationship, not the gold or the bronze, I do not have any more contact with them. I don't do anything else. With that silver recruiter though, I have built a relationship with them, meaning like I will actively reach out and be like, hey, can we have lunch once a quarter? Can we go out on your dime and can we just chat about, the state of contract work here at this organization? I want to have that relationship with them because building that relationship with that specific recruiter, they're usually going to try to either find me a position somewhere else, not often, or they're going to work to keep me there because from their perspective, they're like, he's a good paycheck, consistent. I don't have to worry about him, shows up, all that stuff. But remember, any recruiter gets their big bonus or whatever you want to say off of placement.
Yeah.
But once you're placed, recruiters, in my opinion, don't really care if you stay there after the first and second, third years either.
Yeah. So I bucketize it in two areas now that I'm clear as far as talking about third-party agencies. And it was either you're going to be a transactional partner to me or you're going to be a long-term partner to me. And so the recruiting companies that wanted to know about the company, right? Because their whole job is to sell the company that they're recruiting for, right? So in our case, we would edify them as much as we can as far as our benefits. But I look for them to ask me those questions, right? Because they're selling the company on our behalf. So to me, that was like, that's huge. If a recruiter comes to me and says, what are the perks of the company? Tell me about the company. What do you like about the company? If they start off on that foot, that you sold me there. But if they come off as, what's the pay rate? And what's the bill rate? Because that's where their head's going, right? The minute, they talk about bill rate, they're calculating their cut behind scenes. And that's all it is to them. They're getting a piece of the pie at the end of the day. And those are the transactional agencies that I stay away from.
Yeah. And I don't think we've talked about categorizing, especially the recruiters like that before. I wonder if there is some type of like system like that, or
there is.
Yeah.
When we're not live, I'll share with y'all, and then you can tell me how I can work that better.
Oh gosh.
So
we need to make that into an infographic is what we need.
It kind of falls into your third-party risk assessment, though, because one thing that we had to educate a lot of our agencies, especially the new ones, was our requirement to do background checks, right? So, they're technically the employee of record for the people you're bringing on board, right? So they're the ones that need to facilitate the background check, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And they're the ones that need to give you the assurance that, yes, this guy has passed all the standards that you put upon us, right? So that's how you could look at it, Chris, I would say from a GRC third-party risk assessment perspective. But I would say the partnership is equally important as well, making sure that
it
they're
really
not
is
transactional.
Yeah, it really is. Now, if you have someone who's willing to co-invest in that partnership for it, in my opinion, you have the gold may be what you want to reach for, but this one is the one that has the more opportunity for that. If you're going to stay in contract work, this, you really want to cultivate that partnership. And I will tell you, I've had some really, really grand partners who have done amazing stuff. I remember once when I had to take off, I had a sickness that took me off work for like a month or two.
Yep.
And I was absolutely scared as a contract worker for being gone that long.
Yeah.
But my contractor, my recruiter, man, she came in clutch, man. She was like, here's like $600 for your family to cover groceries for this month or whatever. And I was just like,
Yeah.
what?
Dope.
And she was like, I went ahead and got all your FMLA papers here signed. I just need your signature on it. And I was like, what in the
Jeez.
flipping?
That's cool.
That's
So
rare.
my job was guaranteed to stay there. And I was just like, no other recruiter has ever matched up to that one recruiter I had.
No,
Yeah.
that's on
I've
another
had some
level.
others that were okay, actually, and good. Most everyone else has just been what I expect from a recruiter.
Yeah, and the technical aspect too. I mean, that was the other area I focused on because technical recruiters, in my opinion, they're not technical people. They know a little bit about IT or cybersecurity, and they call them technical recruiters. So, the other thing I look for is how they're vetting the job description that I put in front of them. Are they asking me questions to confirm that they understand the technology or how we operate it? Because again, you're outsourcing the recruiting and vetting to them. So they should be wise enough to ask certain questions. And if they weren't, sometimes we'd give them a break. We'd bring the technical recruiters in and do lunch and learns and educate them on what a VLAN is and questions they could ask about VLANs and other security practices and whatnot. But like I said, it's an investment. If the partnership's there and they have that demeanor to actually build a relationship, then for me, I would invest in train their technical recruiters to help with our recruiting efforts, basically,
What were you doing? Save 5? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, so I did sports and entertainment. I worked sports and entertainment for about 21 years for one of the leading companies that runs large venues. One of them is named after a cryptocurrency. I'll go as far as that. But the company that owns that venue is the company I worked for. So I was their deputy CIO for the last 6-7 years. I just got tired of enterprise IT and decided to go back to my happy place, which was cybersecurity. Because in 2016, our CIO left at the time, and there was an opportunity to just move up and take on additional responsibility. So I took it. But like you were saying earlier, protect yourself and make sure you're taking care of your mind and whatnot. So for me, it was just a bit too much, and that's where I'm at now. So joining the GRC group and, trying to get back to cyber, and, here I am, kind of sitting around and applying just like, a few people on this call are doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Thanks for coming up here. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, straight facts, homie.
I want to
GRC
see you here more
Mafia.
often, because I think your perspective could really be very influential for some folks.
Yeah, no, I went through some battles just kind of hearing it from, the GRC and cybersecurity side. And I made a comment at one point as far as how cyber guys can be like, well, I can't do anything because you don't have your inventory under control. Like that was a big thing for me, where it was just always this vicious cycle. So just kind of, if you guys have any perspective from an ops perspective, let me know, because that was my forte for 20 years.
Damn. Yeah, and then also, we are closing in on that 3-hour mark already. So Ben Tech and then also Sierra popped in a little bit late there. So yeah, they're going to be watching on 2.5 times speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome to the Party Pals, GRC Mafia. We'll go around for the final remarks and start bringing it to an end. Yeah, it's not a bad thing to make it a little bit longer once in a while, but yeah, we do try to respect everybody's time too. We get replay people as well. Cyber Gangsters, any final remarks or anything else you want to add?
So I'm going to post up a link in the live chat. If I do the live chat like now, it'll still show up for everybody in the chat everywhere, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure to post up a link to a resource that I've used in the past and continue to use. My YouTube, when I first started out, I had Peggy Nolan was a regular visitor. This is PCI specific. She was a regular visitor guest, and she would help me and help our audience understand PCI better. So I'm going to link her website, PCI 365 Compliance, in the chat in a moment. But if you're looking for some PCI knowledge, you're looking to get some more learning, she offers these certifications. Go there, and I will say it's a little bit pricey if you're not without work. But honestly, if you were to
What is it for?
PCI, you just get PCI knowledge. So you don't necessarily get a certification.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
You posted on LinkedIn a few weeks ago
Yes.
that you attended one of them.
So one of the cool things is when you finish, she has about, I'm going to say 12 to 20 modules in there. Once you finish the modules, each module comes with downloads, tools, like toolkits basically for PCI related stuff. And then when you finish it also gives you a certificate. It looks nice to have. I've got a few of them up from there, but the knowledge in the community there is really worth it. If you were to drop the $35 in there, you could complete all the modules and get all the certificates in there. If that's your thing, that's not my thing. I'm not a heavy on the certificates guy. Look at me. If you look at me now, I still don't have any certificates to my name. 0. How long have I been in IT? 20 years. Am I in GRC? Yes. And I'm not saying you don't need them. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying don't get them. I am just saying if you don't have that.
Is for a 4.0 PCI on your YouTube channel series.
I know. I have some recorded. I just need to get them cleaned up, put them up, and start doing them again.
But yeah.
So anyway,
that sounds like a plan. Yeah, if you drop that on the live chat on Discord, then it does relay the links over.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. It's awesome to have you up and everything else, especially from the PCI side. And then sometimes we get Chris Hildago as well for the ISO. I almost had a heart attack when I was refilling my water, and PBO was talking about, how he's learning ISO. Like, I thought I tripped and busted my head open or something.
Landed in an alternate universe.
Yeah, right. Saved V, if you have any final remarks or if you want to add anything.
Nah, I'll pick my brain, down the road if you guys just need different perspective. Like I said, 21 years enterprise IT, run a lot of groups and have a lot of corporate experience. So feel free to leverage.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then Space Tacos?
Huh?
Final remarks? Anything to add? I'm dropping your Discord and website in chat now. ! Tacos to get those linked.
Yeah, I have a lot of resources on my Discord. So if you're GRC curious or looking for things, that's my collection of resources for that. Last words. I don't know. Keep grinding. You'll get there.
Right.
That sounds really flat just because I'm like PBO. I'm old and I'm really tired. So I'm about ready to pass out. So
the conversation just kept going. I had to keep it going.
No, I get it, and I haven't been here in a hot minute because I've been hiding in my hidey hole. But I have been listening from time to time, and it has been. And if not, then I'll cut out and go do things that I need to do. But I'm just right now I'm a little exhausted though. But yay, GRC Mafia!
Of course.
Oh, I was supposed to tell you a story from earlier this week, which is mainly why I got up on camera, but I don't remember what the story was I was supposed to tell.
Wow. Yeah. I think that was on the AMA. Oh no, you were in chat at the time.
I was in chat at the time. I was also at work and I was not able to share the words.
Yeah, I believe I'm pretty sure that was the Tuesday video.
Sure.
So you said you were going to share it or something along those lines, and
here I am. But I forgot.
And now nobody remembers. So. Go figure. But yeah, definitely check out the GRC Audit Treasure Trove Discord. Awesome resource. Go in there, search for what you're looking for. Thousands of things in there, I'm sure. PBO, any final remarks there?
Oh, I wanted to give you a shout out. I thought you did a great interview this afternoon on the cloud part. So I want to give you a shout out. Shout out to Space Tacos and everybody on the panel. Just keep grinding. Don't get discouraged. It's just a bad market. I think the recession is brutal. Just keep going. Get your certs, get your skills. Just keep grinding and just keep looking. Be Indeed, or LinkedIn, Dice.com. Just keep applying and keep trying. And there's a lot of people up on the stage. I think we need Say V to keep coming up here to balance me out. He's a lot more professional than me, so we need him to keep coming up, balance me out. But once again, all these people up here to help you. Shout out to Study GRC. They're a great resource, and there are a lot of resources out here to help you for the free. Shout out to Space Tacos and her Discord. shout out. I was hanging out with Jamie. We were doing some stuff on his Discord. So once again, there's a lot of free stuff out here. Just hit me with the add Professor Black Ops on one of the Discord. That's the back signal. You might have Chris to help me find it. I got a lot of Discords, but I'll try to get back with you ASAP. Thanks, man.
Yeah, and I also dropped PBO's YouTube channel in the chat as well. Well over 800 videos now. Definitely check out the compliance playlist, but he does have a lot of other ones. And then Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Especially going over AWS recently. But like PBO even went through all of the family groups for the 53. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was like 20 weeks long. Yeah. So
that kind of burned me out.
Yeah, so much information on there, especially. But yeah, definitely can be discouraging. Probably when I started to break into a lot of these communities, it seemed like the average was probably about 12 months, probably about 2 years ago. But honestly, like there's more and more people I'm seeing where it's taking 2 years to find a position to break in. Yeah. So it definitely seems more like an employer market. But yeah, just I've seen so many people fall off, and so forth. And if you have to, like, you do what you got to do to pay the bills, kind of thing. Yeah. But at the same time, like, stick in there. Like it will happen eventually. But there's so much work that has to be done with it too. John Strand's talk for the keynote for Simply CyberCon. There's no such thing as entry-level jobs in security. He talks about how you have to upskill and work harder on it. And, then you have competition. It depends on your location. There's so many variables involved. So
right, you're not getting a job like a down the corner street kind of thing that's always available. You're getting
correct
a very lucrative
technical job.
Yeah.
And I think one thing, especially looking from the outside too, is it's information security. So then these companies often need to trust you as well. And so with no experience, that could be a problem too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thank you to the panel for hopping up here. You guys have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Friday AMA. Saturday, we have the State of Study GRC. I'm going to drop that survey one more time.
What time is that Saturday?
11?
That is noon Eastern.
Noon. Yay, an extra hour because I have to run around.
Noon Eastern.
On Saturday, right?
Yes, so Saturday, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern time. This Saturday, and that's going to be the Q2 State of Study GRC. There are going to be some. We have the survey going on, which I just dropped in chat. So if you guys haven't filled that out, I'd really appreciate the feedback and so forth because that's actively pursuing, community developed, community driven. So we've gotten some awesome stuff already. I'll see you later, PPO. PPO's out.
I'm tired.
I do.